The kiss happened in the rain before she even knew his name. Mia Bennett thought he was just a driver, a stranger helping her get to the most important interview of her life. But when their lips met on that wet sidewalk in New York, unexpected, electric, impossible to explain, everything changed. She walked into Apex Dynamics soaking wet and shaking. She got the job. And then she discovered the truth. The man she kissed wasn't a driver at all. He was Daniel Hayes, billionaire, CEO, her new boss. This is their story. Drop a comment with your city below. Let me see how far this story travels. Hit that like button and stay until the end. You won't believe what happens next. The rain came down hard that Monday morning, the kind that turned New York streets into rivers and made everyone walk faster with their heads down. Mia Bennett stood under the broken awning of a coffee shop on Fifth Avenue, trying to keep her resume dry inside a plastic folder that was already cracked at the corners. She'd bought it 3 years ago, back when she still believed things would get better. They hadn't. Her phone buzzed. She pulled it from her coat pocket. The screen cracked in a spiderweb pattern across the top left corner. Interview at 9 a.m. Apex Dynamics. 52nd floor. Don't be late. She checked the time. 8:47. Damn it. She stepped out into the rain, holding the folder over her head like it would do anything. Her shoes were already soaked through. The heel on her left pump was loose, clicking unevenly against the pavement as she half walked, half ran toward the address she'd memorized last night. Apex Dynamics. The name alone made her stomach turn. She'd applied on a whim, late one night after another rejection email, another unpaid bill, another call from a landlord who didn't care that she was trying. The application process had been brutal. 3 rounds of emails, 2 phone screenings, and a personality test that felt designed to weed out anyone who'd ever struggled. But somehow, she'd made it to the final interview. She didn't know why. She wasn't special. She had a degree from a state school no one had heard of, work experience that was mostly temp jobs and waitressing, and a gap in her employment history she couldn't explain without sounding desperate, which she was. The building appeared ahead, all glass and steel, stretching up into the gray sky like it was trying to escape the city below. Mia stopped at the crosswalk, water pooling around her ankles. She looked down at herself, cheap coat, wrinkled blouse, skirt that was too tight because she'd lost weight she couldn't afford to lose. She didn't belong here, but she was out of options. The light changed. She stepped into the street. That's when the car appeared. It came out of nowhere, a sleek black sedan that swerved around a taxi and headed straight toward her. Mia froze. Her brain screamed at her to move, but her legs wouldn't respond. The car's horn blared. She saw the driver's face through the windshield, eyes wide, hands jerking the wheel. Then someone grabbed her. Strong hands wrapped around her waist and yanked her backward, pulling her out of the street just as the car blasted past, close enough that she felt the spray of water from its tires. She stumbled, her folder flying from her hands, resumes scattering across the wet pavement. "Jesus Christ, are you okay?" The voice was low, rough, urgent. Mia blinked rain out of her eyes and turned. The man holding her was tall, dark-haired, maybe early 30s. He wore a gray sweater under a black jacket, jeans that actually fit, and boots that looked expensive but not flashy. His face was sharp, strong jaw, dark eyes, the kind of face that would have been handsome if it wasn't currently filled with concern. Yeah, I'm fine." Mia pulled away from him, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. "I'm sorry, I wasn't looking. That guy wasn't looking either." The man glanced after the car, which had already disappeared into traffic. "You sure you're okay?" "I'm fine. Really." Mia turned and saw her resumes scattered across the sidewalk, soaking in puddles. "Oh no, 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 no." She dropped to her knees and started grabbing them, but the paper was already ruined, the ink bleeding into unreadable smears. Her hands were shaking. She couldn't tell if it was from the cold or the adrenaline or the fact that she'd just lost the only copies she had. "Hey," the man crouched beside her. "Let me help." "They're ruined." Mia's voice cracked. She shoved the wet papers into her folder anyway, like it mattered. "I needed these. I have an interview in—" She checked her phone. 8 minutes. I'm not going to make it." "Where's the interview?" "Here. This building." She gestured at the tower above them. 52nd floor. I can't show up without a resume. I can't. Well, you can." The man stood and held out his hand. "Come on." Mia looked up at him. "What?" I'm going to the same building. I'll drive you. You don't have to. You just almost got hit by a car. Let me drive you. There was something in his voice that didn't leave room for argument. Mia took his hand and let him pull her to her feet. Her legs felt unsteady. Her heart was still hammering in her chest. My car's right there. He nodded toward a black SUV parked half a block away. Not flashy, not a limo. Just nice. The kind of car someone with money, but not money, would drive. Mia hesitated. I don't even know your name. Daniel. He smiled, and for the first time she noticed the tiredness in his eyes, like he hadn't slept in a while. And you are? Mia. Nice to meet you, Mia. Now get in the car before you're late. She should have said no. She should have thanked him and walked away, found another copy shop, printed new resumes, shown up late and apologized. But she was cold and wet and running out of time, and Daniel was already walking toward the SUV like it was decided. Mia followed. The interior of the car was warm, leather seats soft beneath her. Daniel slid into the driver's seat and started the engine without a word. Jazz played low on the stereo. The rain drummed against the roof. Thank you, Mia said quietly. You didn't have to do this. I know. Daniel pulled into traffic smoothly like he'd driven these streets 1,000 times. But you looked like you were about to cry, and I'm not good with that. Mia let out a surprised laugh. I wasn't going to cry. You sure? Pretty sure. Okay. He glanced at her, the corner of his mouth lifting. What's the interview for? Operations analyst at Apex Dynamics. She said the name like it was a test, waiting to see if he'd recognize it. He didn't react. That's a good company. You know it? I've heard of it. His voice was careful, neutral. What do they do? Tech solutions mostly, corporate consulting. They work with Fortune 500 companies. Mia realized she was repeating the website verbatim. I don't know much beyond that. I just need the job. Why? The question caught her off guard. Why do I need the job? Yeah. Mia stared out the window at the rain-blurred city. Because I'm about to get evicted. Because I haven't had health insurance in 2 years. Because I'm tired of barely surviving. She paused. That honest enough for you? Daniel didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was softer. Yeah, that's honest. They drove in silence for a moment. Mia watched the streets pass, the buildings getting taller, the people walking faster. Everyone in New York was always rushing somewhere. She used to be one of them, back when she had somewhere to rush to. Can I ask you something? Daniel said. Sure. Why'd you freeze back there? In the street. Mia closed her eyes. I don't know. I saw the car coming and I just couldn't move. It was stupid. It wasn't stupid. It happens. He turned onto 52nd Street. Fear does that sometimes. Makes you freeze when you should run. You sound like you know from experience. Maybe. The building appeared ahead, impossibly tall. Daniel pulled up to the curb in front of the main entrance, where a doorman stood under a gold-trimmed awning. Mia's stomach dropped. This is you, Daniel said. Mia looked at the building, then down at herself. Her clothes were still damp, her hair was a mess. She had no resume, no portfolio, nothing to prove she was worth their time. I can't do this, she whispered. Yes, you can. You don't know that. I know you got this far. Daniel turned to look at her fully. That means something. Mia met his eyes. They were dark brown, almost black, and there was something in them she couldn't name. Not pity, not sympathy. Something else, something like recognition. What if I mess it up? She asked. Then you mess it up, but at least you tried. It was such a simple answer, so obvious, but somehow hearing it from him made it feel possible. Okay. Mia took a breath. Okay. She reached for the door handle. Daniel's hand landed on her arm, stopping her. Mia. She turned back. Good luck. His hand was still on her arm. Warm. Steady. And maybe it was the adrenaline, or the fear, or the fact that she'd almost died 5 minutes ago and nothing felt real anymore. But Mia leaned across the console and kissed him. It wasn't planned. It wasn't smart. But his lips were soft, and he tasted like coffee, and something else she couldn't name. And for exactly 3 seconds, the world stopped spinning. Then she pulled back, her face burning. I'm sorry, I don't know why Daniel stared at her. His expression was unreadable. I have to go. Mia fumbled with the door handle, her hands shaking again. Thank you for the ride. I'm sorry. Mia. She looked back one more time. Daniel's face had changed. There was something raw in it now, something almost vulnerable. Go get that job, he said quietly. Mia nodded and pushed the door open. The rain hit her immediately, cold and sharp. She didn't look back as she ran toward the entrance, past the doorman, through the glass doors into the marble lobby that smelled like money and ambition. Her heart was racing. Her lips still tingled. She could still feel his hand on her arm. What the hell had she just done? The elevator ride to the 52nd floor took 43 seconds. Mia counted every one of them, trying to steady her breathing, trying to forget the feeling of Daniel's mouth against hers. She checked her reflection in the polished elevator doors. Her mascara had run slightly, her hair was drying in uneven waves. She looked like exactly what she was. A mess. The elevator chimed. The doors opened. The reception area was all white and chrome, with floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city. A woman sat behind a curved desk, blonde and perfect in a way that made Mia want to turn around and leave. Can I help you? The woman's smile didn't reach her eyes. I have an interview, 9 o'clock, Mia Bennett. The woman typed something into her computer. You're late. I know, I'm sorry, Have a seat. Someone will be with you shortly. Mia sat in one of the white leather chairs and tried not to drip on the marble floor. Her phone buzzed, a text from her roommate. Did you pay rent yet? Mia deleted the message without answering. Across the room, the elevator chimed again. Mia didn't look up. She was too busy trying to remember her talking points, the answers she'd rehearsed in the mirror last night until her voice went hoarse. Miss Bennett? Mia stood. A woman in a charcoal suit stood in front of her, clipboard in hand, expression neutral. I'm Caroline Ross, VP of Operations. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for having me. Follow me, please. They walked down a hallway lined with conference rooms, all glass, all empty except for one where 3 men in suits sat around a table, talking in low voices. Mia caught a glimpse of charts, spreadsheets, someone's hand gesturing sharply. Caroline stopped at a door near the end of the hall. The panel is already inside. They'll ask you a series of questions about your background and problem-solving approach. Do you have a resume? Mia's stomach dropped. I had copies, but they got ruined in the rain. I can email. That's fine. We have your application on file. Caroline opened the door. Ready? No. Absolutely not. Yes, Mia said. The conference room was smaller than she expected. 3 people sat on the far side of a long table. A man in his 50s with gray hair and tired eyes, a younger woman with red-framed glasses, and another man who looked fresh out of business school. Ms. Bennett, the older man said, gesturing to the empty chair across from them. Please sit. Mia sat. Her hands were clasped so tightly in her lap that her knuckles ached. I'm Robert Chen, Director of Analytics. This is Amanda Park, Senior Analyst, and James Wu, Operations Manager. We've reviewed your application and we're impressed with your background, but we have some concerns. Of course they did. Your employment history shows significant gaps, Amanda said, flipping through papers Mia couldn't see. Can you explain those? This was the question Mia had been dreading, the one she'd practiced answering 100 times, trying to find the balance between honesty and professionalism. I was caring for my mother, Mia said. She had early onset Alzheimer's. I took time off to be her primary caregiver until she passed 2 years ago. The room went quiet. Amanda's expression softened slightly. Robert nodded. I'm sorry for your loss, Robert said. Thank you. And since then? James asked. You've been working temp positions. Why not pursue something permanent? Because no one would hire me. Because every interview ended the same way, with polite smiles and promises to be in touch that never materialized. Because I started to believe I wasn't worth hiring. I needed flexibility while I sorted out my mother's estate and my own finances, Mia said instead. But I'm ready now. I'm looking for stability, for a place where I can contribute long term. It sounded rehearsed because it was, but it was also true. Amanda leaned forward. Why Apex? Because you're growing, because your client list is impressive and your reputation is solid, and because I need a challenge. Mia paused. I've spent the last few years just trying to survive. I want to do more than that now. Robert exchanged a glance with Amanda. Something passed between them, some silent communication Mia couldn't read. Let's talk about problem solving, Robert said. Give me an example of a time you had to make a difficult decision with limited information. Mia's mind went blank. She'd prepared for this question. She had examples ready, stories from her temp jobs that she'd polished until they sounded impressive. But sitting in that room, looking at three strangers who held her entire future in their hands, all she could think about was this morning. Standing in the rain, the car coming toward her, Daniel's hands pulling her back. The kiss. This morning, Mia heard herself say, I almost got hit by a car. The panel stared at her. I froze. I saw it coming and I couldn't move. Someone pulled me out of the way and probably saved my life. And afterward, all I could think was that I'd ruined my only copies of my resume and I was going to be late and I'd already failed before I even got here. She was rambling. She needed to stop, but the words kept coming. And then the person who saved me offered me a ride, and I had to decide whether to trust a complete stranger or show up late on my own. I chose to trust him. I got in his car. I made it here on time, even though I still don't have a resume, and I probably look like I swam here. Mia took a breath. So I guess the decision was whether to trust someone I didn't know, with limited information and no guarantee it would work out. And I did, because sometimes that's all you can do. The silence that followed felt like it lasted an hour. Then Robert smiled. That's a good answer, he said. The rest of the interview blurred together. They asked about her technical skills, her experience with data analysis, her familiarity with their software systems. Mia answered as best she could, drawing on every temp job, every night course she'd taken online, every skill she'd taught herself because she couldn't afford real training. When it was over, Caroline walked her back to the elevator. You'll hear from us within a week, Caroline said. Thank you. Mia stepped into the elevator. The doors closed. She sagged against the wall and closed her eyes. She had no idea if she'd gotten the job, but she'd shown up. She'd tried. That had to count for something. The lobby was crowded when Mia stepped out of the elevator. People in expensive suits moved past her like water around a stone. Everyone important, everyone busy. Mia pushed through the glass doors and back out into the rain. It had lightened to a drizzle. The city smelled like wet concrete and exhaust. Mia stood under the awning and pulled out her phone to call a car she couldn't afford. Mia. She turned. Daniel stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, rain darkening his shoulders. He looked different somehow. More solid, more real. You waited? Mia asked. I wanted to make sure you were okay. I'm fine. The interview was... I don't know. I think I said too much. Doubt it. Daniel stepped closer. You hungry? What? It's almost 10. Have you eaten? Mia tried to remember. Not since yesterday. Daniel's expression flickered. Come on. Where? There's a diner 2 blocks from here. Best coffee in the city. I can't. I need to get home and start applying to other places in case this doesn't work out. It'll work out. You don't know that. No, Daniel admitted. But you should eat anyway. Mia should have said no. She should have thanked him again and left, put distance between herself and whatever this was. But she was hungry and tired and still buzzing from the interview, and Daniel was looking at her like she mattered. Okay, she said. 1 coffee. They walked side by side through the drizzle, not talking, just moving. The diner was exactly what Daniel promised. Small, warm, smelling like bacon and maple syrup. They slid into a booth near the back. A waitress appeared with menus and coffee without being asked. You come here a lot? Mia asked. Sometimes, when I need to think. What do you do? For work, I mean. Daniel's hand tightened around his coffee mug. I'm in management. Nothing interesting. Everyone says that when their job is either very boring or very important. Maybe it's both. They ordered. Pancakes for Mia, toast for Daniel. The food arrived fast. Mia realized halfway through her first bite that she was starving, that she'd been starving for longer than she wanted to admit. She ate without talking, without pretending to be polite. Daniel watched her with something like amusement. What? Mia asked around a mouthful of pancake. Nothing. It's just nice to see someone actually enjoy food. I haven't had a real meal in a while. How long is a while? Mia set down her fork. Why do you care? I don't know. Daniel leaned back. Maybe because you kissed me and then ran away. Heat flooded Mia's face. I apologized for that. Did you? I tried to. You really didn't. Mia stared at her plate. I'm sorry, it was inappropriate and weird, and I don't even know why I did it. Don't you? She looked up. Daniel was watching her with an intensity that made her chest tight. No, she lied. Okay. But he didn't look away. The moment stretched. Outside, rain tapped against the window. Someone laughed at the counter. The waitress refilled their coffee without asking. Can I ask you something? Mia said finally. Sure. Why did you really wait for me? Daniel's jaw tightened. Because I wanted to. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. They sat in silence. Mia finished her pancakes. Daniel barely touched his toast. When the check came, he grabbed it before Mia could reach for her wallet. I can pay, she said. I know, but I'm going to. Why? Because I want to. There was that phrase again. I want to. Like it was simple. Like wanting something was reason enough. They left the diner and stood on the sidewalk. The rain had stopped. The sun was trying to break through the clouds, turning the wet street silver. I should go, Mia said. Yeah. Daniel didn't move. Thank you. For everything. For saving my life and driving me here and the coffee. You're welcome. Mia turned to leave. Daniel's voice stopped her. Mia. She looked back. I hope you get the job. There was something in his voice that sounded like goodbye. Mia nodded and walked away, her shoes squelching on the wet pavement. She made it half a block before she looked back. Daniel was still standing there, watching her. Mia turned the corner and didn't look back again. 3 days later, Mia got the call. She was in her apartment, which was really just a room with a hot plate and a bathroom she shared with 3 other people. Her phone rang while she was eating ramen straight from the pot, standing at the window, watching the street below. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Ms. Bennett, this is Caroline Ross from Apex Dynamics. Mia's hand tightened on the phone. Yes? We'd like to offer you the position. Operations analyst, starting salary $65,000, benefits included. Can you start Monday? The world tilted. Mia sat down hard on her mattress, which was just a box spring on the floor. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I can start Monday. Excellent. I'll email you the paperwork. Welcome to Apex. The call ended. Mia stared at her phone. $65,000. Health insurance. A real job. She started crying. Not sad tears. Not happy tears, exactly. Something in between. Relief, maybe. Or disbelief. Or the feeling of something breaking inside her that had been holding her together through sheer force of will. She called her roommate and told her she'd have rent by Friday. She called the temp agency and quit. She went to the corner store and bought a bottle of cheap wine and drank it sitting on her fire escape, watching the sun set over buildings she'd never be able to afford to live in. And she thought about Daniel. She didn't have his number, didn't know his last name. All she had was the memory of his hands pulling her from the street, his mouth against hers, the way he'd looked at her like she was worth looking at. She'd probably never see him again. That was fine. It had to be fine. On Monday morning, Maya put on the only professional dress she owned, black, simple, bought from a thrift store 2 years ago. She did her makeup carefully. She arrived at Apex 30 minutes early and checked in at the reception desk. Mia Bennett, it's my first day. The receptionist smiled, warmer than last time. Welcome. Caroline will be down in a moment to take you up. Mia sat in the same white leather chair and waited. Her heart was racing, but it was different now. Not fear, excitement, hope. Mia! Caroline appeared, same charcoal suit, same neutral expression. Ready? Absolutely. They took the elevator to the 52nd floor. The doors opened onto the same reception area, but it looked different now. Brighter. Like it belonged to her at least a little. Your office is down this hall, Caroline said. You'll share it with 2 other analysts for now. I'll introduce you to the team and then we'll get you set up with IT. They walked past the glass conference rooms. One of them was occupied again, 5 people sitting around the table, laptops open, voices muffled by the thick glass. Mia glanced in as they passed. Her heart stopped. Daniel sat at the head of the table, dressed in a navy suit, tie loose at his throat. He was leaning forward, listening to something a woman across from him was saying. His expression was focused, intense, nothing like the man who'd bought her coffee 3 days ago. Mia's feet stopped moving. Caroline turned back. "Everything okay?" "That man," Mia said slowly. "In the conference room. Who is he?" Caroline followed her gaze. Her expression shifted, something like confusion crossing her face. "That's Daniel Hayes, our CEO. Why?" The floor dropped out from under Mia's feet. CEO, Daniel Hayes, the man who'd saved her life, who'd driven her to her interview, who'd kissed her back in his car. He wasn't just some guy. He was Daniel Hayes, billionaire, the owner of this entire company. And he'd lied to her. "Miss Bennett?" Caroline's voice came from far away. "Are you all right?" Mia couldn't answer. She was staring through the glass at Daniel, waiting for him to look up, to see her, to explain. As if he'd heard her thoughts, Daniel's head turned. His eyes met hers through the glass. For one long second, neither of them moved. Then Daniel stood abruptly, his chair scraping back. He said something to the people at the table and walked toward the door. "Excuse me," Mia said to Caroline, and she didn't wait for a response before walking toward him. They met in the hallway, 10 feet of polished marble between them. "Mia," Daniel started, "you're the CEO." "Yes." "You lied to me." "I didn't lie. I just didn't. You let me think you were nobody. You drove me here and bought me coffee and let me ramble about how much I needed this job, and you were him the whole time." Daniel's jaw tightened. "I wanted to tell you." "When? After I started working here? After I made a complete fool of myself?" "You didn't—" "I kissed you," Mia hissed, aware that Caroline and probably half the floor could hear them. "I kissed my future boss in his car like an idiot, and you just let it happen." "I kissed you back." "That's not the point." "Then what is the point?" Mia stepped closer, anger burning through her embarrassment. "The point is that you had all the power and I had none, and you didn't think I deserved to know who you were." Something flashed in Daniel's eyes. Hurt, maybe. Or anger. "You're right," he said quietly. "I should have told you." "Why didn't you?" "Because for 10 minutes I wasn't Daniel Hayes. I was just some guy helping someone who needed help. And it felt—" He trailed off. "Felt what?" "Good. It felt good." Mia wanted to stay angry. She wanted to walk away and forget this ever happened. But there was something in Daniel's voice, something raw and honest, that made her pause. "I can't work here," she said finally. "What?" "If you're my boss, I can't work here. It's a conflict of interest. I'm not your boss. You report to Robert Chen. I barely interact with operations analysts. That doesn't matter. Everyone will think I slept my way into this job. No one knows what happened between us. We know." Daniel stepped closer. They were standing too close now, close enough that Mia could smell his cologne, see the tiredness in his eyes. "Stay," he said quietly. "Please, you earned this position. Don't walk away because of me." "I can't." "Yes, you can. We'll keep it professional, completely professional. I'll stay out of your way. You'll never even see me. I'm seeing you right now. This is the last time. I promise." Mia searched his face, looking for the lie. But all she saw was the same man who'd pulled her out of the street, who'd waited in the rain to make sure she was okay. "Okay," she said finally, "but if I see you again, if you interfere with my work in any way, I won't." "Good." Mia turned and walked back to where Caroline stood, pretending she hadn't been listening. She didn't look back at Daniel. She didn't let herself. But she felt his eyes on her the entire way down the hall. The first week passed in a blur. Mia dove into her work like a drowning person grasping for air. She learned the systems, memorized the protocols, stayed late every night reviewing reports until her eyes burned. Her office mates, 2 men in their 20s named Josh and Kevin, were friendly but distant, focused on their own projects. Mia kept her head down. She ate lunch at her desk. She took the stairs instead of the elevator to avoid running into anyone important. She didn't see Daniel once. On Friday afternoon, Robert called her into his office. "Mia, sit." She sat. Robert's office was smaller than she expected, cluttered with papers and coffee cups, photos of his family on the desk. "I've been reviewing your work from this week," Robert said. Mia's stomach dropped. "Is there a problem?" "The opposite. Your analysis on the Redford account was excellent. You found inefficiencies we've been overlooking for months." "Oh, thank you. I'm assigning you to a bigger project. We're pitching a new client next month. Tech startup, growing fast, needs operational overhaul. I want you on the team." Mia blinked. "Really? You're smart and you work hard. That's all I care about." Robert leaned back in his chair. "You've got a good future here, Mia. Don't waste it being scared." "I'm not scared." "Sure you are. Everyone is on their first week, but you're here because you're capable. Remember that." Mia left his office feeling lighter than she had in months. She stopped by the bathroom to splash cold water on her face and actually smiled at her reflection. She was doing it. She was actually doing it. When she came back to her desk, there was a coffee cup sitting on her keyboard. Expensive coffee, the kind from the place on the corner that she'd walked past every day but never gone into. There was no note. Mia picked up the cup and looked around. Josh and Kevin were gone. The floor was mostly empty, just a few people packing up for the weekend. She lifted the cup and saw the logo. Same place Daniel had taken her that first day. Her heart did something complicated in her chest. She threw the coffee away without drinking it. By the second week, Mia had found her rhythm. She knew which conference rooms had the best Wi-Fi, which printer jammed the least, where to hide when she needed to think without interruption. She made friends with the woman who ran the coffee station, an older lady named Susan, who always added an extra pump of vanilla to Mia's order. She still hadn't seen Daniel, but she felt him everywhere. In the way people talked about him, brilliant, demanding, fair. In the company-wide emails that came from his office, always direct, never full of corporate speak. In the way the 52nd floor seemed to hold its breath whenever he was in the building. Mia told herself she didn't care. She was lying. On Tuesday of her third week, she was working late again, the office dark except for her desk lamp. Everyone else had gone home hours ago. Mia was deep in a spreadsheet when she heard footsteps. She looked up. Daniel stood in her doorway. He looked tired. His tie was gone, sleeves rolled up, hair slightly messed like he'd been running his hands through it. He had a folder under one arm and a coffee cup in the other. "Hi," he said. Mia's first instinct was to tell him to leave, but the words stuck in her throat. "Hi," she said instead. "You're here late." "So are you." "I'm always here late." Daniel glanced at her desk, at the papers spread everywhere. "What are you working on?" "The Redford analysis. Robert wants a full report by Friday." "Can I see?" Mia hesitated. Then she turned her laptop so he could see the screen. Daniel walked over, set his coffee down, and leaned over her shoulder. He smelled like coffee and something clean, like soap or shampoo. Mia held her breath. "This is good," Daniel said after a moment. "Your efficiency model is solid, but you're missing something." "What?" He pointed at the screen. "You're assuming their current staffing levels are fixed. They're not. If you reduce redundant positions and reallocate resources, you can increase output by another 15%. Mia looked at where he was pointing. He was right. She'd been so focused on optimizing the existing structure that she hadn't considered restructuring entirely. "How did you see that so fast?" she asked. Daniel smiled. "I've been doing this a long time." "Right, because you're the CEO." "Yeah." The smile faded. "About that, you said you'd stay out of my way." "I know." "This isn't staying out of my way." "I know," Daniel said again, "but I was walking past and I saw you were still here, and I wanted to make sure you were okay." "Why wouldn't I be okay?" "Because it's almost 9 and you've been here since 7 this morning." "How do you know that?" Daniel didn't answer. He just looked at her, and Mia understood. "You've been watching me." "Not watching, just paying attention." "That's the same thing." "Maybe." Mia stood up, putting distance between them. "You can't do this." "Do what?" "Act like you care. Bring me coffee. Check on me. We agreed to keep this professional." "I am being professional." "No, you're not. Professional would be ignoring me completely." "I tried that." Daniel's voice was rough. "It didn't work." The air in the room shifted. Mia felt it, that same electric pull from the car, from the diner. dangerous, impossible. Daniel, I haven't been able to stop thinking about you, he said quietly. Since that morning, since you kissed me and ran away, I know I should. I know this is complicated and inappropriate and probably a dozen other things, but I can't. Mia's heart was hammering. You're my boss. Technically, I'm not. You own the company. That's different. Not to everyone else. Daniel stepped closer. I don't care about everyone else. You should. I should. But Mia didn't move away. Tell me you haven't thought about it, Daniel said. About that morning. About what might have happened if things were different. Mia wanted to lie. She should lie. I have, she whispered. Daniel's expression cracked. Mia. But it doesn't matter, because things aren't different. You're Daniel Hayes and I'm just… Don't. His voice was sharp. Don't finish that sentence. Why not? It's true. No, it's not. Daniel was close enough now that Mia could feel the heat coming off him. You're brilliant and stubborn and real in a way most people aren't. You don't smile unless you mean it. You work harder than anyone on this floor. And when you kissed me, it was the first time in years I felt like a person instead of a position. Mia couldn't breathe. Daniel, I know this is a bad idea. I know I should walk away, but I can't. Not without knowing if you feel it too. Feel what? This. He kissed her. It wasn't like the first time, rushed and rain-soaked and desperate. This was deliberate. His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheek. His lips were soft and sure, tasting like coffee and something darker. Mia's hands found his shirt, gripping the fabric, pulling him closer. It was a bad idea. It was reckless and stupid and exactly what she'd told herself wouldn't happen. She kissed him back anyway. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Daniel rested his forehead against hers. Tell me to stop, he whispered. Mia closed her eyes. I can't. Why not? Because I don't want you to. They stood there, tangled together in the dark office, and Mia knew with absolute certainty that nothing would be simple after this. But maybe simple was overrated. Daniel pulled back first, his hand still against Mia's face, his breathing uneven. The office felt smaller suddenly, the walls too close, the air too warm. Mia's fingers were still twisted in his shirt, and she forced herself to let go, to step back, to put space between them before she forgot why this was a terrible idea. We can't do this here, she said, her voice shaky. I know. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. I know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. Don't apologize. Mia pressed her palms against her eyes, trying to think clearly. We need rules. If this is going to happen, we need rules. What kind of rules? I don't know. Normal ones, like not at work, never at work. Okay? And no one can know. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I can't have people thinking I'm sleeping my way up. Daniel's jaw tightened. No one would think that. Yes, they would. You know they would. Mia looked at him. I need this job, Daniel. I need people to respect me here. If they find out about us, that's over. So we keep it quiet. Can you do that? Can you actually do that? Yes. There was no hesitation in his voice. What about outside work? What does this even look like? Daniel was quiet for a moment. I don't know. I haven't done this in a long time. Done what? Dated someone. Wanted to date someone. He met her eyes. I have a son, Mia. He's 6. His name is Oliver. His mother left when he was 2, and it's just been us since then. He's my priority. He has to be. The confession landed between them like something heavy. Mia absorbed it slowly. A son. Of course he had a son. Daniel Hayes wasn't just some billionaire CEO. He was a father, a single father. Okay, Mia said. Okay? I'm not asking you to choose between me and your kid. I'm not asking you to choose anything. I don't know what I'm asking. Daniel stepped closer again, slower this time. I'm asking if you'll have dinner with me, somewhere not here. Somewhere we can just be 2 people talking. When? Tomorrow night. I'll pick you up at 7. You don't know where I live. So tell me. Mia hesitated. Her apartment was embarrassing. A single room with water-stained walls and a radiator that only worked half the time. But Daniel was looking at her like her address was the only thing standing between them and something real. "I'll text you," she said finally. "You don't have my number, so give it to me." Daniel pulled out his phone. They exchanged numbers in silence, the moment feeling both ordinary and monumental. When Mia's phone buzzed with his contact, just his name, no title, no company, something in her chest loosened. "Tomorrow," Daniel said. "Tomorrow," Mia agreed. He left first, disappearing down the dark hallway toward the elevators. Mia waited until she heard the doors close before she sat down at her desk again. Her hands were shaking, her lips still tingled. She touched them absently, remembering the kiss, the way Daniel had looked at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. This was a mistake. She knew it was a mistake. But she texted him her address anyway. The next day moved like sludge. Mia sat through meetings where people talked and she nodded at the right times but didn't hear a single word. She redid the same spreadsheet 3 times because she kept losing track of what she was calculating. At lunch, Susan asked if she was feeling all right, and Mia lied and said she hadn't slept well. At 6:30, she left the office and took the subway home, crammed between commuters who all looked as tired as she felt. Her apartment was exactly as depressing as she remembered. She showered in the shared bathroom, changed into the only dress she owned that wasn't professional, and waited. At 7 sharp, her phone buzzed. "I'm outside." Mia grabbed her jacket and headed downstairs. Daniel's SUV was parked in front of a fire hydrant. He got out when he saw her, came around to open her door. He was wearing dark jeans and a gray Henley, no tie, no suit. He looked younger like this, more like the man who'd driven her through the rain. "Hi," he said. "Hi." They drove in silence for a while, jazz playing low on the stereo again. Mia watched the city pass outside her window, the buildings getting nicer, the streets getting cleaner. "Where are we going?" she asked. "Little place in Brooklyn. They have good food and no one will recognize me there." "Do you get recognized a lot?" "More than I'd like." They crossed the bridge into Brooklyn, the Manhattan skyline shrinking behind them. Daniel parked on a quiet street lined with brownstones and led her to a restaurant that looked more like someone's living room than a business. The host greeted Daniel by name and showed them to a table in the back, away from the windows. "You come here often?" Mia asked when they were alone. "Sometimes, when I need to disappear for a while." "Must be nice, being able to disappear." "It is." Daniel looked at her across the table. "How was your day?" "Long, unproductive. I couldn't focus." "Neither could I." They ordered wine, then food. The conversation came easier than Mia expected. Daniel asked about her work, her childhood, her mother. Mia found herself talking about things she hadn't told anyone in years. Growing up in Pennsylvania, her father leaving when she was 12, her mother's diagnosis and the slow, awful progression of forgetting. "I'm sorry," Daniel said quietly when she finished. "That must have been hell." "It was, but it's over now." "Is it?" Mia took a sip of wine. "I don't know. Sometimes I still wake up thinking I need to check on her. Make sure she took her medication. Remind her who I am." She paused. "It's stupid." "It's not stupid. It's grief." "You sound like you know." "I do." Daniel's expression darkened. "My wife, ex-wife, left without warning. One day she was there, the next she was gone. Didn't even take her things, just left." "Why?" "She said she wasn't cut out for motherhood, that she'd made a mistake, that she needed to find herself or some bullshit like that." Daniel's voice was flat, emotionless. Oliver was 2. He cried for her every night for months. He doesn't remember her now. I'm not sure if that's better or worse. Mia reached across the table and took his hand. Daniel looked down at their joined fingers like he'd forgotten what touch felt like. "You raised him alone," Mia said. "I had help, nannies, my assistant, but yeah, mostly alone." "That's incredible." "It's just what you do. When you're all someone has, you show up." They sat like that for a moment, hands linked across the table, the restaurant's ambient noise fading into white noise. Mia felt the weight of what they were doing settle over her. This wasn't just attraction. This was something deeper, something that scared her. "Tell me something," Daniel said. "Something no one else knows." Mia thought about it. "I wanted to be a dancer when I was a kid. Ballet. I was pretty good too, But lessons were expensive and my mom couldn't afford them after my dad left, so I quit. Do you ever regret it? Sometimes. Mostly, I wonder what I could have been if money hadn't been an issue. If I'd had the same opportunities other kids had. You still could. Take classes, try again. Mia laughed. I'm 30 years old and I work 60 hours a week. When would I have time? You make time for what matters. Does it matter? I'm not going to be a professional dancer at 30. So what? Do it because you love it, not because it'll lead somewhere. It was such a simple statement, so obvious. But Mia had spent so long surviving that she'd forgotten what it felt like to do something just because it made her happy. What about you? She asked. What did you want to be? A pilot. I wanted to fly planes. Why didn't you? My father had other plans. He built Apex from nothing, and he wanted me to take over. So I did. Daniel pulled his hand back, picked up his wine glass. I don't regret it, but sometimes I think about what it would have been like to just go. Leave everything behind and see where I ended up. Why don't you? I have responsibilities, a company, a son. So you're trapped. Daniel looked at her sharply. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. They finished dinner slowly. The conversation shifted to lighter things. Movies they'd seen, books they'd read, places they wanted to travel. Daniel told her about taking Oliver to the park every Sunday, how his son was obsessed with dinosaurs and refused to wear anything but sneakers. Mia told him about the time she accidentally locked herself out of her apartment and had to climb through a window in front of her entire building. When the check came, Daniel paid before Mia could argue. They walked back to the car in comfortable silence, the Brooklyn streets quiet and tree-lined. Daniel opened her door again, and Mia slid inside, watching him walk around to the driver's side. Thank you, she said when he got in. For tonight. For all of this. You don't have to thank me. I want to. Daniel started the engine but didn't put the car in drive. Instead, he turned to look at her. Can I ask you something? Sure. What do you want from this? From me? Mia took a breath. I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead. Do you want to? Want to what? Think ahead. Plan for something that might last longer than a few dinners. The question hung between them. Mia's first instinct was to say no, to protect herself, to keep this casual and temporary. But looking at Daniel now, at the vulnerability in his face, she couldn't lie. Yes, she said quietly. I do. Something shifted in Daniel's expression. Relief, maybe. Or hope. Good, he said. Because so do I. He drove her home. They didn't talk much, just listened to the music and the sound of the city passing by. When they pulled up in front of Mia's building, Daniel put the car in park but left the engine running. I want to see you again, he said. When? Tomorrow, the day after. Every day if you'll let me. Mia smiled. I work for you, remember? You see me every day. That's not what I mean. I know. She reached for the door handle. Text me. Wait. Mia turned back. Daniel leaned across the console and kissed her, soft and slow, like they had all the time in the world. When he pulled away, Mia's head was spinning. Good night, Mia. Good night. She got out of the car and walked to her building without looking back, but she felt his eyes on her until she disappeared inside. Over the next 2 weeks, they fell into a rhythm. Daniel would text her in the mornings. Nothing romantic, just small things. Coffee order? Or how'd you sleep? Mia would respond between meetings, hiding her phone under her desk like a teenager. At work, they were careful. Professional. Daniel rarely came to her floor, and when he did, he barely glanced her way. But Mia felt him watching sometimes, felt the weight of his attention even when they were in different rooms. They had dinner 3 more times, different restaurants, always in Brooklyn or Queens, always somewhere quiet. Daniel told her about his childhood, growing up with a father who measured love in quarterly reports. Mia told him about the summer she spent working at a beach resort, the friends she'd lost touch with, the version of herself she'd left behind when her mother got sick. On their 4th date, Daniel took her to his apartment. It was in Tribeca, high floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Hudson. The space was massive, but somehow felt lived in. Toys scattered across the floor, drawings taped to the fridge, a child's laughter echoing from somewhere deeper in the apartment. Oliver's here, Daniel said, almost apologetic. My nanny had a family emergency. I hope that's okay. Of course. A small boy came running around the corner, dark hair like his father's, eyes bright with excitement. He stopped when he saw Mia, suddenly shy. Oliver, this is Mia. She's a friend of mine. Mia, this is Oliver. Hi, Oliver, Mia said, crouching down to his level. Oliver studied her seriously. Do you like dinosaurs? I don't know much about them, but I'd like to learn. That was apparently the right answer. Oliver grabbed her hand and pulled her toward his room, chattering about velociraptors and T-Rexes and something called an ankylosaurus. Mia let herself be led, glancing back at Daniel, who stood in the hallway looking stunned. They spent the next hour on Oliver's bedroom floor, building elaborate dinosaur habitats out of blocks and action figures. Oliver was smart and funny and completely unfiltered, asking Mia questions about everything from her job to whether she'd ever seen a real dinosaur skeleton. When bedtime came, he hugged her without being asked and made her promise to come back. I like her, Dad, Oliver announced before Daniel could close his bedroom door. She's nice. Daniel came back to the living room where Mia was waiting, still sitting on the couch, her shoes kicked off, feeling more relaxed than she had in months. I'm sorry, Daniel said. He can be a lot. He's perfect. He really is. Daniel sat beside her, close but not touching. He doesn't usually warm up to people that fast. Maybe I'm special. You are. The words were simple, but the way Daniel said them made Mia's chest tight. She turned to look at him and found him already watching her. This is real, isn't it? She said quietly. This isn't just, I don't know, a fling or whatever. Do you want it to be? No. Then it's not. Daniel reached for her hand. I meant what I said. I want this. I want you. For as long as you'll have me. Mia kissed him. Not desperate this time. Not rushed. Just steady and sure. The kind of kiss that meant something beyond the moment. Daniel pulled her closer and Mia went, fitting herself against him like she belonged there. They stayed like that for a long time, wrapped up in each other on the couch, the city glittering outside the windows. When Mia finally pulled back, Daniel's eyes were dark. Stay, he said. I can't. Oliver's here. He's asleep, and I have guest rooms. Daniel, I'm not asking you to sleep with me. I'm asking you to stay. Just be here. With me. Mia should have said no. She should have gone home, kept some distance, not let this get too serious too fast. But Daniel was looking at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking for years. Okay, she said. I'll stay. Daniel showed her to the guest room, brought her a t-shirt to sleep in, left her alone to get settled. Mia changed and climbed into the bed, which was easily the most comfortable thing she'd ever laid on. She checked her phone. 2 texts from her roommate asking about rent, 3 emails from work, 1 message from Daniel. Thank you for staying. Mia smiled and didn't respond. She turned off the light and closed her eyes, listening to the sounds of the apartment settling around her. She'd just started to drift off when she heard a soft knock. Come in. Daniel pushed open the door. He was wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, his hair messy, his feet bare. I can't sleep, he said, so come here. Daniel crossed the room and climbed into bed beside her. Mia turned to face him, and he wrapped his arms around her, pulling her against his chest. They didn't talk, didn't kiss, just held each other in the dark, breathing in sync. I'm falling for you, Daniel whispered against her hair. I need you to know that. Mia closed her eyes. I know. I'm falling for you too. They fell asleep like that, tangled together. And when Mia woke up in the morning, Daniel was still there. At work, nothing changed. They were still careful, still professional. But Mia felt the difference. She caught Daniel watching her during a company-wide meeting and had to look away to keep from smiling. She saw him in the elevator once, and they rode down 30 floors in silence, both of them staring straight ahead, both of them painfully aware of the 6 inches of space between them. Robert pulled her into his office one afternoon, 3 weeks after her first date with Daniel. You're doing exceptional work, Robert said. The Redford project closed yesterday, and the client specifically mentioned your analysis. They want you on their next contract. Really? Really. I'm recommending you for a promotion, junior analyst to senior analyst. It comes with a raise and more responsibility. Mia felt tears prick her eyes. Thank you. I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep working this hard. I will, I promise. She left Robert's office and went straight to the bathroom to compose herself. A promotion. A real promotion. Based on her work, her effort, her merit. Not because of Daniel, not because of anything except herself. She texted Daniel immediately. I got promoted. His response came 30 seconds later. I know, Robert told me an hour ago. I'm proud of you. You didn't have anything to do with it? Nothing. This was all you. Mia stared at the message, relief and pride washing over her in equal measure. She'd done it. She'd earned it. That night, Daniel took her to dinner to celebrate. They went to the same Brooklyn restaurant, ordered the same wine. But everything felt different now. Lighter. More possible. I was thinking, Daniel said over dessert, maybe we could take a trip, just a weekend, somewhere quiet. Where? There's a house upstate. My family used to go there when I was a kid. It's on a lake. Private. We could bring Oliver. You want me to come on a family trip? I want you to meet that part of my life if you're ready. Mia reached across the table and took his hand. I'm ready. They planned it for the following weekend. Mia packed a bag and met Daniel at his apartment early Saturday morning. Oliver was already bouncing with excitement, a backpack full of dinosaur toys slung over his shoulder. Mia, are you coming with us? I am. Is that okay? Yes. Dad said we're going to the lake house. There's fish and trees, and sometimes we see deer. That sounds amazing. The drive took 3 hours. Oliver talked non-stop for the first hour, then fell asleep in his car seat, head tilted at an uncomfortable angle. Daniel drove with one hand on the wheel and the other holding Mia's, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. Thank you for this, Mia said quietly. For what? For letting me in. For trusting me with him. Daniel glanced at her. He's the most important thing in my life. If you're going to be part of my life, you need to know him, really know him. And if he doesn't like me? He already likes you. You heard him. The lake house was beautiful. Not massive, but comfortable. Wood floors and big windows and a dock that stretched out over calm water. Oliver ran straight to the lake, Daniel chasing after him with sunscreen and life jackets. Mia stood on the porch and watched them together, father and son, laughing as they skipped stones across the surface. She felt something shift inside her, not fear, not doubt, just certainty. This was what she wanted, this life, this family, these quiet moments that felt more valuable than anything she'd ever chased before. Daniel looked back at her and smiled, and Mia knew she was in trouble. They spent the weekend swimming and cooking and teaching Oliver how to fish. At night, after Oliver went to bed, Daniel and Mia sat on the dock with their feet in the water, talking about everything and nothing. On the last night, Daniel kissed her under the stars and told her he was in love with her. Mia kissed him back and said, I love you too. It should have been perfect. And for a while it was. But back in the city, reality started creeping in. People at work began to notice. Not that Daniel and Mia were together, they were still careful about that. But they noticed the way Mia's career was accelerating. The promotions, the high-profile projects, the way Robert seemed to favor her over analysts who'd been there longer. Must be nice, Josh muttered one day when Mia got assigned to another major account. Having connections. I don't have connections. Sure you don't. Kevin didn't say anything, but Mia saw the way he looked at her. Like she was cheating somehow. Like she didn't deserve what she'd earned. She tried to ignore it, tried to focus on her work, on proving herself. But the whispers followed her. In the break room. In the bathroom. Everywhere she went, she felt people watching, judging, waiting for her to fail. It got worse when Daniel appeared at a team meeting Mia was leading. He sat in the back, didn't say a word, just listened. But afterward, the rumors exploded. Did you see the way he looked at her? I heard they went to dinner together. Someone saw them leaving in the same car. Mia confronted Daniel that night at his apartment after Oliver was asleep. You can't do that, she said, pacing his living room. You can't just show up at my meetings. It was a company meeting. I have every right. I don't care about your rights. I care about my reputation. People are talking, Daniel. Let them talk. Easy for you to say. You're the CEO. I'm just... Don't. Daniel stood. Don't diminish yourself. You've earned everything you have. No one believes that. They think I'm sleeping my way to the top. Then prove them wrong. I'm trying, but it doesn't matter what I do if you keep... Mia stopped, pressing her hands to her face. I can't do this. I can't keep pretending we're nothing at work and everything outside of it. It's exhausting. Daniel crossed the room and pulled her hands away from her face. So let's stop pretending. What? Let's tell people. Make it official. Are you insane? That would make everything worse. How? Right now, people are speculating. If we're honest, there's nothing to speculate about. Daniel, if we go public, my career is over. Every achievement will be questioned. Every promotion will be because I'm dating you. Not if you're good enough that it doesn't matter. The words hit her like a slap. Mia pulled away. You don't get it. You've never had to prove yourself. You were born into this. The company, the money, the respect. It was all just handed to you. Daniel's expression hardened. That's not fair. Isn't it? You have no idea what it's like to be underestimated every single day. To fight for every scrap of recognition. To know that no matter what you do, people will always find a reason to discredit you. You're right. I don't know what that's like, but I know what it's like to be lonely. To have everything and still feel empty. Until I met you. Mia's anger deflated. She sat down on the couch, suddenly exhausted. I don't know what to do. Daniel sat beside her. We'll figure it out. Together. What if we can't? Then we'll deal with that when it happens. But I'm not giving up on this. On us. Mia leaned against him and Daniel wrapped his arm around her. They sat in silence, the weight of the conversation settling between them. I'm scared, Mia admitted. Me too. What are we scared of? Daniel was quiet for a long time. Losing this. Losing you. Mia turned to look at him. You're not going to lose me. Promise? Promise. But even as she said it, Mia felt the lie between them. Because she wasn't sure she could promise anything. Not when the walls were closing in. Not when every day at work felt like a battle she was losing. 2 days later, everything fell apart. There was a corporate event. Annual gala, black tie, all the major clients and stakeholders. Mia hadn't planned to go. It wasn't mandatory for her level, but Robert insisted. You're representing the team, he said, and the clients you've worked with want to meet you in person. So Mia bought a dress she couldn't afford and showed up at the Plaza Hotel feeling like an imposter. The ballroom was massive, chandeliers dripping crystal, champagne flowing like water. Everyone looked expensive and comfortable and like they belonged. Mia spotted Daniel across the room, surrounded by men in suits. He was wearing a tux, his face composed and distant. This was Daniel Hayes, CEO. Not the man who made her breakfast or played dinosaurs with his son or told her he loved her in the dark. She watched him work the room, shaking hands, laughing at jokes that probably weren't funny, being exactly who everyone expected him to be. And she realized she hated it. Mia found the bar and ordered wine. She made small talk with clients, smiled until her face hurt, pretended she wasn't watching Daniel out of the corner of her eye. He never looked at her once. An hour in, Mia was ready to leave. She'd done her duty, made her appearances. She was heading toward the exit when someone caught her arm. Mia Bennett? She turned. A woman in her 40s, perfectly styled, smile sharp as glass. Yes? I'm Catherine Wells, VP at Meridian Tech. I've heard wonderful things about your work. Thank you. I also heard you're very close with Daniel Hayes. Mia's stomach dropped. I work for his company, if that's what you mean. Is it? Catherine's smile didn't waver. Because I heard it's more than that. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you? Because the way I hear it, you've been getting quite a lot of special attention. Promotions, high-profile projects, personal meetings with the CEO. Catherine leaned in. It's impressive, really. Most women take years to climb that ladder. You did it in weeks. Mia's face burned. My work speaks for itself. I'm sure it does, but it's always helpful to have friends in high places. Catherine walked away, leaving Mia standing alone, humiliated and furious. She looked across the room and finally, Daniel was looking back. Their eyes met. Mia waited for him to come over, to defend her, to do something. He turned away. Mia left the gala without saying goodbye to anyone. She walked out into the cold November air, her thin dress doing nothing against the wind cutting down Fifth Avenue. Her phone buzzed in her clutch, but she didn't look at it. She knew it was Daniel. She didn't care. The subway ride back to her apartment felt endless. Every time the train stopped, more people got on, pressing her into the corner until she could barely breathe. A drunk man leaned too close, and she shoved past him, got off 2 stops early just to escape. She walked the rest of the way, heels clicking against the pavement, arms wrapped around herself. When she finally made it to her building, her roommate was sitting on the front steps smoking a cigarette. "You look like hell," Jenna said. "Thanks. Rough night?" "Something like that." Mia didn't stop to explain. She climbed the stairs to their 3rd-floor unit and locked herself in her room. Her phone had 17 missed calls now, all from Daniel. She turned it off and threw it on the bed. The dress came off in pieces. The zipper stuck halfway and Mia yanked at it until something ripped. She didn't care. She'd never wear it again anyway. She pulled on sweatpants and an old t-shirt and sat on her mattress with her back against the wall. She'd been so stupid, thinking she could have both, thinking Daniel would actually choose her over his reputation, his company, his perfectly controlled world. He'd looked right at her and turned away, like she was nothing, like she didn't matter. Her phone buzzed again, even though it was off. The battery must not have died yet. Mia grabbed it and was about to throw it across the room when she saw the screen. Not Daniel. Robert. She answered before she could think better of it. "Hello?" "Mia, I just heard what happened at the gala." Her stomach dropped. "What did you hear?" "That Catherine Wells cornered you, that she implied you're sleeping with Daniel Hayes to get ahead." Robert's voice was tight with anger. "Is it true?" "Is what true? That she said it or that I'm either, both?" Mia closed her eyes. This was it. The moment where everything she'd built collapsed. "She said it," Mia admitted. "But it's not. I mean, we're not." She couldn't finish the lie. "It's complicated." Robert was quiet for a long time. "How complicated?" "We've been seeing each other, outside of work. It didn't start until after I was hired. He had nothing to do with me getting the job." "But he knew. When he interviewed you, he knew who you were." "No. We met the morning of my interview. He didn't know I was applying to Apex. It was a coincidence." "There are no coincidences in this business, Mia." "I swear to you, Robert, everything I've done, every project, every promotion, it was my work. Daniel didn't interfere. It doesn't matter if he did or didn't. What matters is what people believe." Robert sighed. "I'm going to have to report this to HR, to the board." "I know. You could lose your job." "I know that too. Was it worth it?" Mia thought about Daniel's hands in her hair, his son's laughter, the way he'd told her he loved her under the stars. She thought about the lake house and the quiet mornings and the feeling of being seen for the first time in her life. "I don't know," she said honestly. Robert hung up without saying goodbye. Mia sat in the dark and waited. She didn't know what for. Maybe for Daniel to show up. Maybe for the world to end. Maybe for some sign that this wasn't the disaster it felt like. Her phone rang again. "Daniel." She declined the call. He tried 4 more times. Then the text started. "Mia, please, let me explain. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please talk to me. I'm coming over." The last one made her stand up. She texted back quickly. "Don't, I mean it. Don't come here. I need to see you." "No, I need space. Mia." I said no. She turned her phone off for real this time and pulled the battery out just to be sure. Then she crawled under her thin blanket and tried to sleep. She didn't. She just laid there staring at the water stain on the ceiling, listening to sirens and her roommate's TV through the wall. Morning came gray and cold. Mia didn't go to work. She called in sick, actually sick, not just avoiding, and spent the day in bed, alternating between anger and numbness. By noon, Jenna knocked on her door. "There's a guy downstairs asking for you." Mia's heart jumped. "What does he look like?" "Tall, dark hair, expensive coat. Looks like he owns the building. Actually, he probably does own the building." "Tell him I'm not here." "I already did. He said he'll wait." "Let him wait." But 3 hours later, Mia looked out her window and saw Daniel's SUV still parked across the street. He was leaning against it, hands in his pockets, breath visible in the cold air. She watched him for 20 minutes. He didn't move, didn't check his phone. Just stood there like he had nowhere else to be. Finally, Mia grabbed her jacket and went downstairs. Daniel straightened when he saw her. His face was drawn, exhausted, like he hadn't slept either. "You shouldn't be here," Mia said. "I know. I told you not to come." "I know that too." Daniel took a step toward her. "But I needed to see you, to explain." "Explain what? That you're ashamed of me? That you'd rather protect your image than stand up for me?" "That's not what happened." "Then what was it? Because from where I was standing, you looked right at me and turned away." Daniel ran a hand through his hair. "I panicked. I saw you across the room and I knew people were watching and I froze." "You froze? Just like I froze in the street that first day. Except when I froze, you pulled me out of danger. When you froze, you left me there." "I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am. I'm so fucking sorry, Mia." "Sorry doesn't change what happened. Catherine Wells thinks I'm sleeping my way up. Robert knows about us now. I'm probably going to lose my job." "You're not going to lose your job." "You don't know that." "I won't let them fire you." Mia laughed bitterly. "And that right there is the problem. You think you can fix everything with your money and your power, but you can't fix this. You can't make people respect me. You can't undo what happened last night. So what do you want me to do?" "I want you to leave me alone." Daniel looked like she'd hit him. "You don't mean that." "Yes, I do. We tried this. It didn't work. We were stupid to think it could." "Mia, we're from different worlds, Daniel. You have everything and I have nothing. That was always going to be a problem." "You're not nothing." "To them I am. To everyone at that gala, to Catherine Wells, to half the people at Apex, I'm just some girl who showed up out of nowhere and got lucky." Mia's voice cracked. "And maybe they're right." "They're not right. You're brilliant and hardworking, and you earned everything you have. Except I didn't, did I? Because the CEO was sleeping with me the whole time, so nothing I did matters. It's all tainted now." "That's not true." "It is true. And you know it. That's why you turned away last night. Because deep down you're ashamed of being with someone like me." "That is not why I turned away." Daniel's voice rose. "I turned away because I was trying to protect you. Because I thought if people saw us together, it would make things worse for you." "Well, congratulations. You made it worse anyway." They stood there on the freezing sidewalk, both of them breathing hard, both of them hurting. A taxi honked as it passed. Someone shouted from a window above them. "I love you," Daniel said quietly. "That hasn't changed." "Love isn't enough, not for this." "So what? We just give up?" "Yes." The word came out stronger than Mia felt. "We give up. We go back to being professional. We forget this ever happened." "I can't forget this. I can't forget you." "You're going to have to." Mia turned and walked back into her building without looking back. She made it to her apartment, closed the door, and slid down to the floor. Only then did she let herself cry. The next week was hell. Mia went back to work and felt every eye on her. People stopped talking when she walked into rooms. The whispers followed her everywhere. Josh and Kevin barely spoke to her. Robert called her into his office twice for informal discussions about workplace relationships and conflicts of interest. "I'm recommending you to HR," Robert said on the second meeting. "They'll decide if there's been any policy violations." "I understand. For what it's worth, Mia, I believe you did your work honestly. But perception matters in this business." "I know." Daniel sent flowers to her desk. Mia threw them in the trash. He sent coffee. She gave it to Susan. He left a handwritten note under her apartment door. She burned it without reading it. 2 weeks after the gala, HR called her in. The woman across the desk was 50-ish, professional, completely unreadable. "Ms. Bennett, we're conducting an investigation into your relationship with Mr. Hayes and whether it constitutes a conflict of interest or violation of company policy." "Okay. Can you confirm that you've been in a romantic relationship with Daniel Hayes?" "Yes." "And when did this relationship begin?" "About 6 weeks ago." "After you were hired?" "Yes." "Did Mr. Hayes have any involvement in your hiring?" "No. We met by chance the morning of my interview. He didn't know I was applying here." The woman made notes. "Did he have any involvement in your promotion?" "No, that was Robert Chen's decision." "Did Mr. Hayes ever give you preferential treatment? Better assignments, access to information other employees didn't have, anything like that?" Mia thought about the coffee, the lunches, the times Daniel had stopped by to check on her work. He gave me advice a few times on projects, but nothing that affected my assignments or evaluations. I see. More notes. Ms. Bennett, I'm going to be frank with you. This situation is complicated. While we can't prove any direct policy violations, the optics are bad, very bad. I know. We're going to recommend that you either transfer to a different department where there's no reporting relationship to Mr. Hayes, even indirectly, or that you resign. The words hit like a physical blow. You're firing me. We're giving you options. A transfer would be lateral, same pay, same title, just a different division. Which division? Probably finance or legal, somewhere completely separate from operations. Mia thought about starting over, learning new systems, new people, proving herself all over again, all because she'd fallen for the wrong man. And if I resign, we'd provide a severance package, 3 months' salary, a positive reference. So I get punished either way. The woman's expression softened slightly. I'm sorry, this isn't personal. It's about maintaining professional standards. Right, professional standards. Mia stood. Can I have time to think about it? You have until Friday. Mia left the office feeling hollowed out. She went to the bathroom and locked herself in a stall, pressing her palms against her eyes to keep from crying. She'd worked so hard, done everything right, and it still wasn't enough. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Meet me on the roof, please. Just 5 minutes. She knew who it was. She should have deleted it. Instead, she found herself taking the stairs up, past the executive floors to the access door marked Authorized Personnel Only. Daniel was waiting. The roof was windswept and empty, the city stretching endlessly below them. Daniel stood near the edge, hands shoved in his pockets, tie loosened. He looked like he'd aged years in the past 2 weeks. You came, he said. I shouldn't have. But you did. Mia stayed by the door. What do you want, Daniel? To fix this, to make it right. You can't. Let me try. He moved toward her. I talked to the board. I told them everything. That we're together, that it's serious, that it started after you were hired. You did what? I told them the truth. I'm not hiding anymore. That's great for you. I just got told I have to transfer or resign. Daniel's face went pale. What? Atra, they gave me until Friday to decide. They can't do that. They can and they are. And honestly, I don't blame them. This whole situation is a mess. I'll talk to them. I'll fix it. No. Mia's voice was sharp. You've done enough. Every time you try to help, you make it worse. So what, you're just going to leave? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe it's better if I do. Better for who? For everyone. For the company. For your reputation. For me. Daniel crossed the roof in 3 strides and grabbed her arms. Don't do this. Don't walk away. Let go of me. Not until you listen. I don't want to listen. I want you to leave me alone. I can't. I tried. I can't. Try harder. Mia, please. I know I screwed up. I know I should have stood by you at the gala. I know I should have been braver. But I'm here now. I'm choosing you now. It's too late. It's not. It's not too late. Daniel's grip tightened. I love you. I'm in love with you. And I know that terrifies you because you don't believe someone like me could actually love someone like you. But I do. I love that you work harder than anyone I know. I love that you make my son laugh. I love that you're not impressed by my money or my name. I love you. Mia felt tears burning her eyes. Love isn't enough, Daniel. Then what is? What do you need from me? I need you to understand that we can't do this, that it doesn't work. You live in penthouses and I live in a room with water stains on the ceiling. You go to galas and I can barely afford dinner. Your world and my world don't fit together. So we build a new world, just ours. That's not how life works. It could be, if we want it bad enough. Mia pulled away from him. I don't want it bad enough. Not enough to keep fighting like this. You're lying. I'm not. Then look me in the eye and tell me you don't love me anymore. Mia met his gaze. She opened her mouth to say the words. They wouldn't come. I can't do this, she whispered instead. Can't or won't? Both, neither. I don't know. She wiped her eyes. All I know is that being with you costs too much. My job, my reputation, my self-respect. I can't keep paying that price. What if I quit? Mia blinked. What? What if I step down as CEO? I could put someone else in charge, remove the conflict entirely. You're not serious. I am. If that's what it takes, no. Mia cut him off. You can't quit your own company because of me. That's insane. Is it? If it means I get to keep you? You can't keep me, Daniel. I'm not something you own. That's not what I meant, but it's what you said. Mia moved toward the door. This is exactly the problem. You think you can solve everything with grand gestures and sacrifices, but you can't. Some things can't be fixed. Mia, I'm done with this conversation, with us, with all of it. She pulled open the door and started down the stairs. Daniel called after her, but she didn't stop. She couldn't. If she stopped, she'd turn around. If she turned around, she'd give in. And she couldn't afford to give in anymore. Back at her desk, Mia pulled up her email and started typing. Dear Robert, I've decided to resign from my position at Apex Dynamics. She stared at the words. Her finger hovered over the send button. Don't do it. Mia looked up. Robert stood in her doorway. Don't do what? Resign. I know that's what you're thinking about. HR gave me an ultimatum. I know. I was in this meeting. Robert came in and closed the door. I also know Daniel went to the board this morning and told them everything. He did? He did. And he made it very clear that your work has been exemplary, that you've earned every opportunity you've been given, that if anyone should be punished for this situation, it's him. Mia's chest tightened. What did the board say? They're considering it, but between you and me, I don't think they're going to fire either of you. Why not? Because you're both too valuable. Daniel's the best CEO we've had in 20 years, and you're one of the most talented analysts I've seen in my career. The board knows that. But the optics matter less than the results, and your results speak for themselves. Robert sat on the edge of her desk. Here's what I think. I think you should take the transfer, not because you did anything wrong, but because it gives you a fresh start, away from the gossip, away from the complications. What about Daniel? What about him? He'll still be here. So will you, just in a different building, different floor. You won't have to see him unless you want to. Mia thought about it. A transfer meant staying at Apex, keeping her salary, her title, her career trajectory, but it also meant giving up operations, the team she'd built relationships with, the work she knew. I need to think about it, she said. Take the time you need. But Mia, don't let a man, even a good one, derail your career. You're too talented for that. Robert left. Mia deleted the resignation email without sending it. That night, she went to Daniel's apartment. She didn't text first. She just showed up and knocked. Oliver answered. His face lit up when he saw her. Mia, Dad said you weren't coming over anymore. I know, buddy. I've been busy. Are you still busy? Can you play dinosaurs? Not tonight. Is your dad home? He's in his office. He's been in there a lot. Mia found Daniel sitting at his desk, papers spread everywhere, laptop open, eyes bloodshot. He looked up when she came in and went completely still. Hi, Mia said. Hi, to. Daniel stood slowly, like he was afraid sudden movement would scare her away. I didn't think you'd come. I almost didn't. What changed your mind? Robert told me what you did. Going to the board. I should have done it weeks ago. Maybe. Mia closed the door behind her. I'm taking the transfer to finance. Different building, different team. Daniel's face fell. Okay. It's the best option for both of us. I know. But I need to tell you something first. Mia took a breath. I do love you. I wasn't lying about that. I love you, and I love Oliver, and I love the life we built together these past few weeks. But I can't do it anymore. Not like this. What are you saying? I'm saying we need to end this, for real this time. No? Daniel crossed the room. No, I'm not accepting that. You don't get to decide. I love you, Mia. I'm in love with you, and I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but I can't lose you. I won't. Daniel. He kissed her, hard and desperate and full of everything they hadn't said. Mia kissed him back because she couldn't help it, because her body remembered his, because love was stubborn and stupid and refused to listen to logic. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Daniel pressed his forehead to hers. "Come upstairs," he whispered. "Stay with me tonight." "That's a bad idea." "I know." "It won't change anything." "I know that too." But Mia followed him anyway, up the stairs to his bedroom, the one she'd never been in before. It was simpler than she expected. A large bed, dark sheets, windows overlooking the city. Daniel closed the door and locked it. "Are you sure?" he asked. Mia answered by pulling off her shirt. They came together like gravity, inevitable and unstoppable. Daniel's hands on her skin, her fingers in his hair, clothes falling to the floor in pieces. The bed soft beneath her back, his mouth on her throat, her nails on his shoulders. It was fast and urgent the first time, slow and deliberate the second. By the third, they were tangled together, exhausted and overwhelmed, unable to tell where one ended and the other began. Afterward, Mia laid against Daniel's chest, listening to his heartbeat slow. His hand traced patterns on her spine. Neither of them spoke. Speaking would make it real, would force them to acknowledge what they'd just done and what it meant. "Stay," Daniel said finally. "Not just tonight. Stay with me. Move in. We'll figure out the rest." "I can't." "Why not?" "Because I need to stand on my own, to prove I can do this without you." Mia sat up, pulling the sheet around herself. "I'm taking the transfer. I'm going to work my ass off, and I'm going to build a career that's mine, not ours. Mine. And then what? I don't know. Maybe we try again when things are different." "How long is that going to take?" "I don't know. A year, maybe more." "A year." Daniel sat up too. "You want me to wait a year? I want you to let me figure out who I am without you. Because right now, I don't know. And that scares me more than losing you does." Daniel was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. "Okay." "Okay? If that's what you need, then okay. I'll wait." "Daniel, I mean it. I'll wait as long as it takes, because you're worth waiting for." Mia felt tears slide down her face. She let them. "I love you. I love you too. That's not going to change." They held each other as the city lights flickered beyond the windows. And when Mia finally left at dawn, slipping out before Oliver woke up, she didn't look back. Looking back would break her, and she needed to stay whole long enough to rebuild herself. The transfer went through the following week. Mia started in finance the Monday after Thanksgiving, working in a building 3 blocks from Apex headquarters. Her new team was smaller, more focused. The work was different but challenging, and for the first time in months, Mia felt like she could breathe. She threw herself into the job, worked late, came in early. Proved to everyone, but mostly to herself, that she belonged there, that she could succeed on her own merit. She didn't see Daniel, not on purpose. She avoided the main building, took different routes to work, declined invitations to company events she knew he'd attend. But she thought about him. Every day, every night. Wondered if he was thinking about her too. And one night in January, standing alone in her new apartment, a better place, her own lease, no roommates, her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered anyway. "Mia?" It wasn't Daniel. It was a woman's voice, unfamiliar. "Yes? This is Rachel, Daniel's assistant. I'm calling because... I'm sorry, there's been an accident." Mia's entire body went cold. "What kind of accident?" "A car accident. He was driving upstate with Oliver and another car ran a red light. They're at Presbyterian. Oliver is fine, just some bruises. But Daniel..." Rachel's voice cracked. "He's in surgery. It's serious." Mia didn't remember grabbing her coat. Didn't remember running down the stairs or hailing a cab or giving the driver the address. She just remembered sitting in the back seat with her hands shaking, watching the city blur past, thinking over and over, "Please, please, please." The hospital was chaos. Bright lights, an antiseptic smell, and people everywhere. Mia found Rachel in the surgical waiting room, a woman in her 50s with perfect posture and red-rimmed eyes. "You're Mia," Rachel said. It wasn't a question. "Where is he? What happened?" "They said the impact was on the driver's side. Daniel took the worst of it. Internal bleeding, broken ribs, possible concussion. They've been in there for 2 hours." "And Oliver?" "He's getting checked out. Physically, he's okay. Scared, but okay." Mia sank into one of the plastic chairs. "How did you know to call me?" Daniel keeps your number in his phone under "in case of emergency." You're the first person listed. The words hit harder than they should have. Mia pressed her hands to her face, trying to breathe, trying not to fall apart in a hospital waiting room surrounded by strangers. "He never deleted you," Rachel continued quietly. "From anything. Not his contacts, not his calendar. There are still reminders in his phone. Text Mia good morning. Call Mia after Oliver's bedtime. He never turned them off." "Rachel, I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty. I'm telling you because you should know. He's been a mess without you. Functional, but barely. Going through the motions." Before Mia could respond, a doctor appeared in scrubs, pulling off a surgical mask. "Family of Daniel Hayes?" Mia stood. She hesitated. What was she? Not family, not his girlfriend, not anything official. "She's family," Rachel said firmly. The doctor nodded. "Mr. Hayes is stable. The surgery went well. We repaired the internal bleeding and set his ribs. He's going to be in significant pain for a while, but he should make a full recovery." Mia's knees went weak with relief. "Can I see him?" "He's in recovery now. Should be awake in an hour or so. I'll have a nurse come get you." The doctor left. Mia sat back down and put her head between her knees, trying not to pass out. "You still love him," Rachel said. Not a question, a fact. "Yes." "Then why aren't you together?" "It's complicated." "It always is." Rachel stood. "I'm going to check on Oliver. When Daniel wakes up, he's going to want to see you." "How do you know?" "Because you're all he talks about, even when he's trying not to." Rachel left. Mia sat alone in the waiting room, surrounded by other people's grief and worry, and tried to make sense of what she was feeling. Relief that Daniel was alive, anger that he'd put himself in danger, fear that she'd almost lost him before she had the chance to make things right. Except she didn't know how to make things right. Nothing had changed. She still worked for his company, even if it was in a different building. People still whispered. The complications were still there, but Daniel had almost died, and Mia hadn't been there. An hour later, a nurse came to get her. "He's asking for you." Mia followed her through sterile hallways to a private room. Daniel was propped up in bed, bandages wrapped around his ribs, an IV in his arm, his face pale and drawn. But he was awake, alive. He turned his head when she walked in. "Mia." Her name came out rough, like it hurt to speak. Mia crossed the room and grabbed his hand, careful not to jostle him. "You're an idiot," she said, tears streaming down her face. "A complete idiot." "I know." "What were you thinking, driving in this weather?" "I wasn't. I just needed to get away, clear my head." "By risking your life? And Oliver's?" "Oliver's fine. Rachel told you, right?" "She told me, but that's not the point." Daniel squeezed her hand weakly. "I'm sorry for scaring you." "You should be." Mia wiped her eyes with her free hand. "When Rachel called, I thought I'd lost you, and I realized I never said everything I needed to say." "What didn't you say?" "That I was wrong. About needing a year. About needing space. I thought if I could prove myself without you, then maybe we could try again. But life doesn't work like that. You can't schedule when you're ready to be with someone." "Mia, let me finish." "I was scared. Terrified, actually. Of being with you. Of what people would think. Of losing myself in your world. But being without you these past 2 months has been worse. I wake up every morning and the first thing I think about is whether you've had coffee yet, whether Oliver remembered his homework, whether you're okay." Daniel's eyes were wet. "I think about you too, every day, every hour." "I know, Rachel told me about the reminders. She wasn't supposed to tell you that." "I'm glad she did." Mia sat on the edge of the bed. "I love you, Daniel. I never stopped, and I'm tired of fighting it." "So don't fight it." "But nothing's changed. I still work for Apex. People still talk." "Let them talk. I don't care anymore." "You should care. Your reputation doesn't matter if I don't have you." Daniel tried to sit up and winced. Mia put a hand on his chest, keeping him down. "Don't move. You just had surgery. I need you to understand something." Daniel's voice was strained but steady. "When that car hit us, all I could think about was Oliver, making sure he was okay. But right after that, I thought about you, about how I'd never see you again, never get to tell you that I was wrong too." Wrong about what? About protecting you by staying away. I thought if I gave you space, you'd be happier. Build your career without the complications. But all I did was make us both miserable. So what do? We stop hiding. We stop worrying about what other people think. We just be together. Mia wanted to believe it could be that simple, but years of struggling had taught her that nothing was ever simple. What about work? She asked. What about it? I can't come back to operations. Even in a different building, people will talk. So quit. Mia pulled back. What? Quit Apex, work somewhere else, somewhere I have no influence. I can't just quit, I need the job. You need a job, not necessarily this one. Daniel shifted, trying to get comfortable. I know people, I can make calls, get you interviews at companies that have nothing to do with me. I don't want you to get me a job. I'm not getting you a job. I'm getting you in the door. What you do after that is up to you. Mia thought about it. Leaving Apex meant starting over again. New company, new people, new challenges. But it also meant freedom. No more whispers. No more questions about whether she'd earned her place. I need to think about it, she said. Okay. But regardless of what I decide about work, I want to try again. With us. Daniel's face transformed. You mean it? I mean it. No more running. No more space. We do this for real. What changed your mind? Almost losing you. Realizing that being scared of what might happen is worse than taking the risk. Daniel pulled her down gently, kissing her despite the pain it clearly caused him. Mia kissed him back carefully, aware of his injuries, aware that they were in a hospital room where anyone could walk in. When they broke apart, Daniel was smiling, really smiling, for the first time in months. I love you, he said. I love you too. Even when you're being an idiot, especially when I'm being an idiot. A knock at the door interrupted them. A nurse poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but there's a little boy outside who really wants to see his dad. Send him in, Daniel said. Oliver burst through the door and stopped short when he saw all the machines and bandages. His face crumpled. Dad? Hey, buddy. I'm okay. Come here. Oliver climbed carefully onto the bed, and Daniel wrapped his good arm around him. You're not hurt? Just a little sore. But I'm going to be fine. I was scared. I know. I'm sorry. Oliver noticed Mia then. His eyes went wide. Mia, you came back. I did. Are you staying this time? Mia looked at Daniel, who was watching her with hope written all over his face. Yeah, she said, I'm staying. Oliver beamed and launched himself at her. Mia caught him, holding him tight, and something in her chest settled. This was what mattered. Not jobs or reputations or what other people thought, just this. Daniel stayed in the hospital for 3 days. Mia took time off work and spent every moment there, sleeping in the uncomfortable chair beside his bed, bringing him terrible hospital coffee, reading to Oliver when he got bored. Rachel stopped by with work documents that Daniel refused to look at. Robert sent flowers with a card that said, "Get well soon. Also, we need to talk about Mia." On the 3rd day, the doctor cleared Daniel to go home with strict instructions to rest and take it easy. Mia helped him into the car while Rachel buckled Oliver into his car seat. You're coming home with us, right? Oliver asked Mia. Mia looked at Daniel. He looked back, not quite asking, not quite assuming. If that's okay, Mia said. More than okay, Daniel replied. They drove to Daniel's apartment through late afternoon traffic. Oliver chattered the whole way about school and dinosaurs and how he'd told his entire class that his dad was a superhero who survived a car crash. Daniel listened with half his attention, the other half focused on Mia's hand in his. When they got to the apartment, Rachel helped get Daniel settled on the couch with pillows and pain medication while Mia ordered takeout. Oliver insisted on showing Mia his new dinosaur collection, which had apparently grown significantly in the past 2 months. Dad kept buying them, Oliver explained. He said they reminded him of someone. Did he say who? Mia asked, even though she knew. You. He said you liked learning about dinosaurs. Mia's throat tightened. She looked over at Daniel, who was pretending not to listen while Rachel went over his medication schedule. After Rachel left and Oliver went to bed, Mia sat beside Daniel on the couch. He'd fallen asleep watching the news, his head tilted at an uncomfortable angle. Mia carefully adjusted the pillows, and he woke up. Sorry, he mumbled. Don't be. You need rest. Will you stay? Tonight? Do you really think I'm going anywhere? Daniel smiled and closed his eyes again. Mia stayed beside him, her hand on his chest, feeling it rise and fall with each breath. Alive. Here. Hers. Later, after she'd helped Daniel to bed and made sure he had water and pain meds within reach, Mia went to the guest room. But she couldn't sleep. She laid there staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened, everything that still needed to happen. Her phone buzzed. A text from Daniel. Can't sleep without you here. Mia smiled and got up. She found Daniel awake in his bed, staring at the same ceiling she'd just been looking at. This is a bad idea, she said from the doorway. You're supposed to be resting. I'll rest better if you're here. That's a terrible line. It's true, though. Mia climbed into bed beside him, careful not to jostle his injured side. Daniel pulled her close with his good arm, and she settled against him, her head on his shoulder. I'm quitting Apex, she said into the darkness. You don't have to. I want to. You were right. I need a fresh start. Somewhere that's completely mine. Okay, I'll make some calls. Daniel? Yeah? When you make those calls, don't tell anyone we're together. I want to get the interviews on my own merit. I won't say a word. I'll just introduce you. What you do after that is all you. Thank you. They laid in silence for a while. Then Daniel said, Move in with me. What? Move in. You and me and Oliver. Be a family. That's fast. We've known each other for months. We've been in love for most of that time. How is it fast? Because we just got back together 3 days ago. So? I know what I want. I want you here. Every morning, every night. I want Oliver to have you in his life. I want to stop wasting time pretending we're anything other than inevitable. Mia turned to look at him. His face was serious in the dim light from the windows. What if it doesn't work? She asked. Then we'll deal with it, together. But I think it will work. I think we work. You're very confident for someone who just got out of the hospital. Near-death experiences have a way of clarifying things. Mia thought about her apartment, the one bedroom she'd been so proud of, her first place alone, her symbol of independence. But this was different. This wasn't giving up her independence. This was choosing to share her life with someone who saw her, really saw her. Okay, she said. Okay. I'll move in, but I'm keeping my apartment for a few months, just in case. Just in case what? In case you snore too loud, or leave dishes in the sink, or do something annoying. Daniel laughed, then winced. Don't make me laugh. It hurts. Then stop saying things that deserve laughter. He kissed her temple. I'm going to make you so happy. You already do. They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, and when morning came, Oliver was standing at the foot of the bed, staring at them. Are you my dad's girlfriend now? He asked Mia. Mia looked at Daniel, who was awake but silent, letting her answer. Yeah, Mia said. I guess I am. Good. We need a girl around here. Dad's bad at cooking. I heard that, Daniel protested. It's true. Your macaroni is crunchy. Mia laughed. Oliver climbed into bed with them, squeezing between his dad and Mia, and they laid there together as the sun rose over the city. The next week was a blur. Mia put in her notice at Apex. Robert took it better than she expected. I figured this was coming, he said when she told him. For what it's worth, you're one of the best analysts I've had. Whatever you do next, you're going to kill it. Thank you. For everything. For believing in me. You made it easy. Mia cleaned out her desk, said goodbye to her team, and walked out of the finance building for the last time. It felt strange, like closing a chapter she'd barely started, but also like opening a door to something better. Daniel made good on his promise. He reached out to contacts at 3 different companies, a consulting firm, a tech startup, and a financial services company. He introduced Mia via email, gave her credentials, and then stepped back. The rest was up to her. She got interviews at all 3. The consulting firm offered her a position as a senior analyst with a salary 20% higher than what she'd been making at Apex. Mia accepted. I'm proud of you, Daniel said when she told him. I couldn't have done it without your connections. You could have. It just would have taken longer. All I did was open the door. You walked through it yourself. Mia started her new job in February. The work was challenging, the people were smart, and no one knew or cared who she was dating. She was just Mia Bennett, analyst, colleague, professional. She moved into Daniel's apartment slowly. First her clothes, then her books, then the random stuff that had accumulated in her old place. Oliver helped, declaring which items were cool enough for their home. Her mattress didn't make the cut, but her vintage record player did. They fell into a routine. Daniel would wake up early and make coffee. Mia would get Oliver ready for school. They'd have breakfast together, chaotic and loud and perfect. Then Daniel would drop Oliver off while Mia headed to work. Evenings were homework and dinosaurs and dinner at the table, all of them together. It wasn't perfect. Daniel still worked too much. Mia still worried about money even though she didn't need to. Oliver had nightmares about the accident sometimes and would crawl into their bed at 2 in the morning. They argued about small things, whose turn it was to do dishes, whether Oliver could have dessert before dinner, how to load the dishwasher properly. But it was real. And real was better than perfect. In March, Daniel took Mia back to the lake house. Just the two of them this time. Oliver stayed with Rachel, who'd apparently become his favorite babysitter. They spent the weekend doing nothing, reading on the dock, swimming in the still cold water, cooking meals that were half burned. On Saturday night, they sat on the porch with wine and blankets, watching the stars come out. "I need to tell you something," Daniel said. Mia's stomach dropped. "That sounds ominous. It's not bad. At least, I hope it's not." He turned to face her. "I've been thinking about the future, about us, about what I want." "Okay, I want to marry you." Mia's breath caught. "What?" "I'm not proposing, not yet, but I want you to know that's where I'm headed, that I'm serious about this, about us." "Daniel, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know that you're it for me, that I'm not going anywhere." Mia set down her wine glass with shaking hands. "I think about that too, about the future, about whether this is temporary or permanent." "What do you think it is?" "Permanent. I think this is permanent." "Good, because so do I." They sat in silence, the enormity of what they'd just said settling over them. Marriage, forever. A life built together, intentionally and completely. "When you do propose," Mia said carefully, "don't make it a big thing. No fancy restaurant or public spectacle. What do you want?" "Something quiet. Just us. Somewhere that means something." "I can do that. And make sure Oliver's okay with it first. He should be part of the decision." "He already is. I asked him last week if he'd be okay with you being around forever. He said yes." "You asked him before you told me?" "I wanted to make sure. He's my priority. Always." "I know. That's why I love you. Why I love—" Daniel pulled her close, and they stayed like that as the temperature dropped and the stars multiplied. Eventually they went inside and made love in front of the fireplace, slow and deliberate, like they had all the time in the world. The next morning, Mia woke up to find Daniel already awake, propped on one elbow, watching her. "That's creepy," she said. "I'm memorizing you." "Why?" "In case I ever forget how lucky I am." "You're ridiculous. You love it." "I love you." "I know." They drove back to the city that afternoon, stopping at a diner halfway for lunch. The same diner from that first morning, Mia realized as they pulled into the parking lot. "You did this on purpose," she said. "Maybe." Inside, they sat in the same booth, ordered the same food. The waitress didn't recognize them, but Mia didn't care. Some moments didn't need to be acknowledged by anyone else. They just needed to be felt. "What are you thinking about?" Daniel asked. "That morning, how scared I was. How lost I felt. And now? Now I'm found." It was cheesy. Mia knew it was cheesy, but it was also true. They finished their food and got back on the road. Daniel held her hand the whole way home, thumb tracing circles on her palm, and Mia thought about how far they'd come. From strangers in the rain to this, to choosing each other, every day, through everything. When they got back to the apartment, Oliver launched himself at both of them, talking nonstop about his weekend with Rachel and how they'd gone to the Natural History Museum and seen real dinosaur bones. "Can we go next weekend?" he asked. "All of us together?" Mia looked at Daniel. Daniel looked back. "Yeah," Mia said. "We can do that." Oliver cheered and ran off to his room. Daniel pulled Mia into his arms. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For staying, for choosing this, for loving us." "You make it easy." "No, I don't. I'm difficult and stubborn, and I work too much." "So am I. We're a good match." Daniel laughed and kissed her. And standing there in his apartment, their apartment, with Oliver's voice echoing from his bedroom and the city humming beyond the windows, Mia felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not because everything was perfect, but because everything was exactly as it should be. 6 months passed like breathing. Natural. Necessary. Easy in ways Mia hadn't known life could be easy. She thrived at her new job. The consulting firm valued her sharp analysis and willingness to challenge assumptions. Within 3 months, she was leading projects. Within 5, they offered her a team lead position. Mia accepted and immediately felt the weight of imposter syndrome creep back in. "What if I'm not ready?" she asked Daniel one night after Oliver had gone to bed. "You are." "How do you know?" "Because I've watched you work. You're better at this than you think you are." "That's what everyone says before they fail." Daniel set down his laptop and looked at her fully. "You know what the difference is between you and most people?" "What?" "Most people are afraid of failing because it would prove they're not good enough. You're afraid of succeeding because it would prove you deserve good things. And you still don't believe you deserve them." The observation cut deep. Mia looked away. "Hey!" Daniel crossed the room and knelt in front of where she sat curled on the couch. "You deserve every good thing that happens to you. The job, the promotion, this life, me, Oliver, all of it. I know that intellectually. But not in here." He pressed his hand over her heart. "That's the part we need to fix." "How?" "By me telling you every day until you believe it, by you proving it to yourself over and over, by us building a life so good you can't deny you're worth it." Mia pulled him up beside her. "You're very wise for a billionaire." "I have my moments." She took the promotion, and Daniel was right. She was good at it, better than good. Her team respected her. Her clients requested her specifically. The firm started floating the idea of making her a partner within 2 years. At home, things shifted too. Oliver started calling Mia by her name instead of Dad's girlfriend. Small moments accumulated into something bigger. Mia helping with homework, making his lunch, showing up at school events. The first time Oliver's teacher referred to her as his mom, Mia corrected her. "I'm not his mom." Oliver looked up from his art project. "You kind of are, though. Your mom is someone else, buddy." "I know, but she's not here. You are." The conversation sat with Mia for days. She brought it up with Daniel that weekend while Oliver was at a friend's birthday party. "He called me his mom," she said. "I know. He told me." "Doesn't that bother you?" "Why would it bother me?" "Because I'm not. Because his actual mother is out there somewhere." Daniel was quiet for a moment. "His actual mother left when he was 2 and hasn't contacted us since. You've been here for almost a year. You're the one who shows up. That makes you more of a mother than biology ever could." "But what if she comes back?" "She won't." "You don't know that." "I do. She signed away her parental rights 3 years ago. She wanted nothing to do with us. With him." Daniel's voice was flat, emotionless. "So yeah, if Oliver wants to call you his mom, I'm okay with that. More than okay. What if I mess it up? What if I'm not good at this?" "You're already good at this. You show up, you care, you try. That's all anyone can ask." Mia thought about her own mother. The way she'd shown up every day, even when Alzheimer's made her forget why. The way she'd tried until trying was impossible. Maybe that was all parenting was. Showing up, caring, trying. "Okay," Mia said. "If he wants to call me that, I won't correct him." Daniel kissed her. "You're going to be amazing at this." "I'm already terrified." "That means you're doing it right." In July, they took a real vacation. 2 weeks at a house in the Hamptons. Daniel rented a place on the beach, big enough for all of them, plus Rachel, who came for the second week to give Daniel and Mia some alone time. Mia had never been to the Hamptons, had never taken a 2-week vacation, had never had the luxury of doing nothing but exist. The first few days, she couldn't relax. She kept checking her work email, responding to messages, staying available. Daniel finally took her phone and hid it. "You're on vacation," he said. "I need to stay on top of things." "Your team has it covered. You're allowed to unplug." "What if something goes wrong?" Then they'll figure it out. You don't have to solve every problem. It took 3 days before Mia stopped reaching for her phone. But once she did, something loosened in her chest. She swam in the ocean with Oliver, read books on the beach, cooked dinners with Daniel, slept past 7 for the first time in years. One afternoon, while Oliver was napping and Daniel was on a work call he couldn't avoid, Mia walked down to the water alone. The beach was mostly empty, just a few people scattered along the sand. She stood at the edge where the waves met the shore and let the water run over her feet. A year ago, she'd been broke and desperate, living in a room with water stains, eating ramen for dinner, wondering if she'd ever have anything more than survival. Now she was here, in the Hamptons, with a man who loved her, a child who called her mom, a career that fulfilled her. It felt impossible, like someone else's life. But it was hers. "You okay?" Mia turned. Daniel stood a few feet away, barefoot, jeans rolled up, hands in his pockets. "Yeah, just thinking." "About what?" "How different everything is now." Daniel came to stand beside her. "Better different or worse different?" "Better. Definitely better." Mia paused. "I keep waiting for something to go wrong, for this to fall apart." "It won't." "You can't promise that." "No, but I can promise I'll fight like hell to keep it together if it starts to." They stood in silence, watching the waves. Then Daniel said, "I want to ask you something." "Okay." "Remember when I said I wasn't proposing, but I wanted you to know marriage was where I was headed?" Mia's heart started racing. "Yes, I'm ready now, to actually propose, but I wanted to make sure you are too." "Are you asking permission to propose?" "I'm asking if you're ready, because if you're not, I'll wait, as long as you need." Mia looked at him, at this man who'd pulled her out of traffic and into his life, who'd been patient when she ran, who'd fought for her when she didn't believe she was worth fighting for. "I'm ready," she said. Daniel smiled. "Good, because I've been carrying this around for 2 months and it's getting heavy." He pulled a small box from his pocket. Mia's breath caught. "You said you didn't want a big thing. You wanted somewhere quiet, somewhere that means something." Daniel opened the box. Inside was a simple ring, platinum band with a single stone. Not flashy, not ostentatious, perfect. "This beach is where Oliver and I used to come before you, where we'd escape when things got too heavy. It's where I told him about you, where he said he hoped you'd stay." Daniel took the ring out. "Now it's where I want to ask you to build a life with me, officially, permanently, for real." "Daniel, Mia Bennett, will you marry me?" She wanted to say yes immediately, but something held her back. Not doubt, not fear, just the need to make sure they both understood what they were doing. "If I say yes, I need you to know something," Mia said. "What?" "I'm never going to be the kind of wife who goes to galas and smiles for cameras. I'm not interested in that world." "I know. And I'm going to keep working. I'm not giving up my career." "I would never ask you to. And Oliver comes first, always, even before us." "Agreed. And sometimes I'm going to be difficult and stubborn, and I'm going to push you away when things get hard, because that's what I do." "I know that too." "So you know what you're signing up for?" Daniel stepped closer. "I know exactly what I'm signing up for. A brilliant, stubborn, incredible woman who makes me want to be better, who loves my son like he's hers, who challenges me and frustrates me and makes every single day more interesting." He held out the ring. "So yeah, I know. And I still want this, do you?" Mia looked at the ring, at Daniel, at the ocean behind him, and the house up the beach where Oliver was sleeping. "Yes," she said. "I want this. I want you. I want all of it." Daniel slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Then he kissed her, and Mia kissed him back, and somewhere in the distance, she heard someone cheer. She pulled back and saw a couple further down the beach who'd been watching. They waved. Mia laughed and waved back. "We have an audience," she said. "Let them watch." They walked back to the house hand in hand. Oliver was awake, sitting on the porch with a popsicle. He saw the ring immediately. "You asked her," he shouted. "I did," Daniel said. "And she said yes?" "I said yes," Mia confirmed. Oliver dropped his popsicle and ran at them full speed. Daniel caught him and lifted him up. Oliver wrapped his arms around both of them. "Does this mean you're staying forever?" he asked Mia. Yeah, buddy. Forever. Good. I already told my friends you were my mom. I didn't want to be a liar. Mia felt tears prick her eyes. She pressed her face into Oliver's shoulders so he wouldn't see. They spent the rest of the vacation planning. Nothing concrete, just talking about what they wanted. A small wedding, close friends and family only, somewhere meaningful. Maybe the lake house. Maybe the beach. Definitely not a big production. What about the company? Mia asked one night after Oliver had gone to bed. What about it? Won't people expect a big society wedding, press coverage and all that? Let them expect whatever they want. This is about us, not them. Your board isn't going to like it. The board doesn't get a vote in my personal life. Mia rolled onto her side to face him. You've changed. How? A year ago, you would have cared what the board thought, what people expected. A year ago, I didn't have you. Now I do. Everything else is background noise. They got married 3 months later. October. At the lake house. 20 people total. Robert came and told Mia he was proud of her. Rachel cried through the entire ceremony. Oliver was the ring bearer and took his job so seriously he walked at approximately 1 inch per minute. Mia wore a simple dress she'd found at a boutique in Brooklyn. Nothing fancy, just white and fitted and hers. Daniel wore a suit but no tie. They wrote their own vows. Daniel went first. I didn't believe in second chances until I met you. I thought my life was set, that I'd work and raise Oliver and that would be enough. Then you showed up and made me realize I'd been settling. You make me want to be braver, more honest, more present. You make everything better just by being in it. I promise to choose you every day, to show up even when it's hard, to love you the way you deserve to be loved. Then Mia. Her hands were shaking. She looked at the paper where she'd written her vows and then put it down. This needed to come from memory, from her heart. A year and a half ago, I was standing in the rain thinking my life was over, that I'd failed at everything. Then you pulled me out of the street and everything changed. You saw me when I felt invisible. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. You gave me a reason to stop just surviving and start actually living. She looked at Oliver, who was standing beside Daniel. Both of you did. You showed me what a family could be, what love could be. I promised to show up for you, to fight for us, to never take this for granted. I promise to love you both, every day, no matter what. The officiant pronounced them married. Daniel kissed her. Oliver cheered. Everyone clapped. At the reception, which was really just dinner on the dock, Robert pulled Mia aside. You did good, he said. Yeah? Yeah, you found something real. Don't let go of it. I won't. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry. For the way things went down at Apex. For not protecting you better. You did protect me. You believed in my work. That's all I needed. Robert smiled. You're going to go far, Mia. Keep proving people wrong. That's the plan. Daniel found her later, pulled her away from the party. They walked down to the water, the same spot where they'd sat under the stars months ago. How are you feeling? He asked. Married? Good married or bad married? Good married, really good married. No regrets? Not one. They stood together watching the lake reflect the moonlight. Behind them, music drifted from the house. Oliver's laughter, Rachel's voice, the sound of people celebrating. I love you, Mia said. I love you too. No, I mean, she struggled to find the words. I love you in a way I didn't know was possible. Like you're part of me now, like I can't imagine existing without you. Daniel pulled her close. I know, I feel it too. It's scary. Yeah, but it's also the best thing that's ever happened to me. They stayed like that until the cold drove them back inside. The party went late. Too late. People stayed and talked and laughed until past midnight. Oliver fell asleep on the couch. Rachel covered him with a blanket. When everyone finally left, when the house was quiet, Daniel and Mia stood in their bedroom, now officially their bedroom, not just his, and looked at each other. We did it, Mia said. We did. What now? Now we live. We build a life. We figure it out as we go. That's not very specific. It's not supposed to be. That's the point. They got ready for bed in comfortable silence. Mia washed her face. Daniel brushed his teeth. Normal things. Married things. When they climbed into bed, Daniel pulled her against him. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For saying yes. For staying. For choosing this. You make it sound like a sacrifice. It's not. What is it then?" "The easiest decision I've ever made." Time moved forward the way it does. Days became weeks, became months. Mia's career continued to climb. The firm made her a junior partner 18 months after her wedding. She cried when they told her, called Daniel immediately. "I did it," she said. "I knew you would. I'm a partner, an actual partner. You deserve it." "I know, I actually know that now. I believe it. That was the real victory. Not the title, not the money. The belief that she'd earned it." At home, Oliver grew, started third grade, joined soccer, brought home friends who called Mia Mrs. Hayes, and made her correct them every time. Just Mia is fine. But secretly, she liked it. The belonging, the family. Daniel cut back on work. Not drastically, but enough. He made it to Oliver's soccer games, took Fridays off sometimes, stopped checking email after 9. "You're different," Mia observed one Sunday morning while they were making pancakes. "Different how?" "Lighter. Like you're not carrying as much weight." "I'm not. I realize the company will run without me micromanaging everything, and the time I get back is worth more than any profit margin." "Who are you, and what did you do with Daniel Hayes?" "He's still here, just a better version." They had fights. Real ones. About money and time and how to discipline Oliver and whether to have another kid. That last one was ongoing. "I think we should try," Daniel said one night. "I'm not sure I'm ready." "You'd be an amazing mother." "I'm already a mother to Oliver." "You know what I mean." "I do, and I'm still not sure." "What are you afraid of?" Mia thought about it. "That I'll mess it up. That I'll be like my mom, forgetting things, forgetting them." "That's not how Alzheimer's works. It's not genetic in the way you think." "I know, but the fear is still there. So we talk about it. We figure it out. We don't have to decide today." They didn't. But 6 months later, Mia brought it up again. "I think I'm ready," she said. "For what?" "To try. For a baby." Daniel looked up from his laptop. "Really?" "Really. I'm terrified, but I want to do it anyway." "What changed?" "I realized I'm going to be scared no matter what. But I'd rather be scared and try than scared and regret not trying." They started trying. It took longer than expected. 4 months, 6, 8. Mia started to worry. Then in December, 2 days before Christmas, she took a test. Positive. She told Daniel on Christmas morning, wrapped the test in a box and put it under the tree. He opened it with Oliver sitting right there and went completely still. "Is this real?" he asked. "Took it yesterday, and again this morning. Both positive." Daniel set down the box and pulled her into his arms. Oliver looked confused. "What is it?" he asked. "You're going to be a big brother," Daniel told him. Oliver's face went through several emotions. Confusion, understanding, excitement. "Really?" "Really," Mia said. "Yes." Oliver jumped up and started dancing around the living room. "I'm going to teach them everything. All the dinosaurs, all the sports, everything." Mia laughed and cried at the same time. Daniel held her and whispered, "We're doing this. We're doing this." The pregnancy was hard. Mia was sick for the first 3 months, exhausted for the next 3, uncomfortable for the final 3. Work was understanding, but she still felt guilty taking time off. Daniel kept telling her to stop worrying. "The firm will survive," he said. "I know, but I worked so hard to get here. And you'll still be here after the baby. This isn't the end of your career. It's just a pause." Oliver was obsessed with the baby, talked to Mia's stomach every night, read books about being a big brother, helped set up the nursery. When they found out they were having a girl, he announced he was going to protect her from all the bad stuff. "What bad stuff?" Mia asked. "You know, bullies, mean kids, boys. She's not even born yet. Got to start early." In August, 3 weeks before her due date, Mia went into labor at 2 in the morning. Daniel woke up to her gripping his arm. "It's time," she said. "You sure?" "Very sure." They woke Oliver, called Rachel to come stay with him, and drove to the hospital. Labor lasted 14 hours, long enough that Mia threatened to kill Daniel multiple times. long enough that she questioned every decision that had led to this moment. But then the baby was there, small and pink and screaming. The nurse placed her on Mia's chest, and everything else disappeared. "Hi," Mia whispered. "Hi, sweet girl." Daniel was crying, actual tears running down his face. "She's perfect. She's ours." They named her Emma. Emma Rose Hayes. Oliver met her later that day and declared her pretty good for a baby. He held her carefully, like she might break, and Mia saw the moment he fell completely in love. The first few months were chaos, sleepless nights, endless crying, the feeling that she'd never be a person again, just a feeding machine. Daniel helped as much as he could, but there were things only Mia could do. She resented it sometimes, the biological reality that tied her to this tiny human. But then Emma would smile, or grab her finger, or fall asleep on her chest, and Mia would feel something so overwhelming it scared her. This was love, pure and complete and unconditional. This was what she'd been afraid of her whole life, the vulnerability, the risk of loss, the terrifying possibility that something could happen to this person she loved. "It gets easier," Daniel said one night at 3 a.m. while Mia fed Emma and tried not to fall asleep sitting up. "When? I don't know. But it does. You're very helpful." "I try." Mia looked down at Emma, at her daughter. The word still felt foreign, daughter. "I can't believe she's ours," Mia said. "Believe it. What if I mess her up?" "You won't. You don't know that. I know you love her. That's enough. Love isn't enough to be a good parent." "Maybe not, but it's a start." Emma fell asleep. Mia put her back in the bassinet and climbed into bed beside Daniel. He pulled her close. "You're doing great," he said. "I don't feel like I am." "You are. Trust me." Mia closed her eyes. "I'm so tired." "I know. Sleep. I'll get up with her next time." "You have to work tomorrow." "So do you, eventually." "That's different." "It's not. We're in this together. Remember?" Mia remembered, and somehow knowing Daniel was there, really there, not just saying the words, made it bearable. Time passed. Emma grew, started crawling, then walking, then talking in full sentences that were too smart for her age. Oliver was endlessly patient with her. Mia watched them together and felt something settle in her chest. This was her family, built from nothing, from a random morning in the rain, from choices and risks and the willingness to believe something good could last. On Emma's second birthday, the whole family went back to the lake house, the same place where Daniel had proposed, where they'd gotten married, where so many important moments had happened. They spent the day swimming and eating cake and watching Emma chase after Oliver through the grass. When evening came and the kids were in bed, Daniel and Mia sat on the dock with their feet in the water. "Remember when I first brought you here?" Daniel asked. "When you told me you were falling for me. I was terrified. You didn't seem terrified." "I was. I thought you'd run. Again." Mia leaned against him. "I almost did." "What stopped you?" "Oliver, the way you were with him, the way you loved him so completely. I wanted that. I wanted to be part of it." "And now?" "Now I can't imagine being anywhere else." They sat in silence. The lake was calm, the sky full of stars. Behind them, the house where their children slept. Their life. Their everything. "Do you ever think about that morning?" Daniel asked. "When we first met?" "All the time." "What do you think about?" "How close I came to not showing up, to giving up entirely. If I'd stayed home, if I'd been 5 minutes later, if you hadn't been driving that exact route." Mia trailed off. "Everything would be different." "Do you believe in fate?" "I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe life is just a series of random moments and we're lucky when they line up right. Either way, I'm grateful." "Me too." Daniel stood and held out his hand. "Come on, let's go to bed." Mia took his hand and let him pull her up. They walked back to the house together, and Mia thought about all the times she'd walked away, all the times she'd been too scared to stay, and she thought about how she'd learned slowly and painfully that staying was worth it, that choosing someone every day through everything was the only way to build something that lasted. Inside, they checked on the kids. Oliver was sprawled across his bed, one arm hanging off the side. Emma was curled up with her stuffed dinosaur, a gift from her brother, both of them breathing, safe, theirs. "We made this," Mia whispered. "We did," Daniel agreed. In their own room, they got ready for bed. Brushed teeth, washed faces, the ordinary rituals of a shared life. When they climbed into bed, Daniel pulled Mia against him like he always did. "I love you," he said. "I love you too. Even when I leave dishes in the sink? Even then? Even when I work too late? Even then? Even when— Daniel, I love you. All of you, all of the time. You don't have to keep checking." He was quiet for a moment, then, "I know, I just like hearing it. I'll tell you every day." "Promise?" "Promise." They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other. And when morning came, Oliver jumped on their bed and Emma cried for breakfast, and life continued in all its messy, imperfect, beautiful chaos. Years later, people would ask Mia how she'd done it, how she'd gone from nothing to everything, how she'd built a career and a family and a life that felt full. And she'd think about that morning in the rain, about freezing in the street, about Daniel's hands pulling her back, about the kiss that changed everything. She'd think about all the times she'd wanted to run, all the times she almost did, all the times fear told her to protect herself by staying small. And she'd think about how she'd chosen differently, how she'd chosen to stay, to fight, to believe she deserved good things. "I just showed up," she'd say, "every day, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard," because that was the truth. Love wasn't a grand gesture. It wasn't perfection or certainty or never being scared. It was choosing someone every single day. Through the fights and the fear and the moments when giving up would be easier. It was building something together, brick by brick, mistake by mistake, until one day you looked around and realized you'd created a home. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.